Chapter 1361. The Ghost Race Cultivators gave Shao Qin a headache. If only he had not used up the Taoist divine lamp in the Yellow Springs Hell. Fortunately, Shao Chen's mental energy had increased significantly. He even condensed a dermic incarnation in the depths of his sea of consciousness, which gave him strong resistance to the attacks of the spirits. More importantly, his mental state was now stable. The ghost race's methods should have difficulty affecting him. Outside the invisible barrier, hundreds of ghost race cultivators formed hand seals at the same time. As the ghost race cultivators' hands moved, evil spirits of various shapes appeared. Some of the strong cultivators even summoned 4 or 5 spirits in one go, looking exceptionally scary. With the appearance of these specters and evil spirits, the temperature of Maple Leaf Lake dropped a little more. A chill spread to the island. Several disciples trembled in the depths of their bones. Shao Qin frowned slightly. This won't do. Before the battle started, they were already afraid. Even with the support of the formations, they would not have much of an advantage. One should not underestimate these hundreds of ghost race cultivators. Although the strongest among them was the blue-robed emperor, when they worked together, they only had the ability to kill Emperor Wu. When Shao Chun fought with the ghost race Emperor Wu, these ghost race cultivators broke through the island and destroyed the nodes of the formations. Even if Shao Qin killed all 4 of the other party's Emperor Wus, he would still be the one defeated. In such a huge battle, one had to consider the overall situation. Blue Dragon King, do you have any ideas? The purple-clad old man asked worriedly as he stood beside Shao Qin. He had not expected so many ghost race cultivators to charge to Maple Leaf Lake. Shao Qin shook his head. There was no way to quickly dispel his fear of the ghost race cultivators. He could only think of other ways. Let's end the battle quickly and minimize our losses. Later, Bing Yun and Mo Qin accompany Elder Ma to fight. Deal with these ghost race cultivators before they reach the island. I will deal with their Emperor Wu. The moment Shao Qin said that, Elder Ma, Yu Bingyun and Mo Qin looked at him in shock. The purple-robed old man said, that won't do. They are 4 Emperor Wu, and I'm one of them. It should be Emperor Wu of the 3rd heavenly layer, and Emperor Wu of the ghost clan. I have to help you. Shao Qin said, Elder Ma, you don't have to worry about me. Even if I can't defeat them, I can still protect myself. Given the current situation, Shao Chen's plan was the best solution. The other side would never have imagined that Shao Chen would dare to take on all 4 of them by himself. Let Elder Ma, this Emperor Wu, participate in the battle below Emperor Wu. As long as he eliminated or repelled the 100 ghost race warriors on the lake, the other side would have to retreat even if they did not want to. So. Right after Shao Qin spoke, hundreds of ghost race cultivators appeared on the lake, leading even more specters and malicious spirits. After entering the range of the formation, he charged at the island in the middle of the lake with surging, killing chi. The instant the ghost race cultivators entered the range of the formation, their auras and speed weakened visibly. This was the might of the formation. However, when facing the ghost race, their auras were not very strong. Since that was the case, they could only forcefully bring out their auras. Before Elder Ma could say anything, Shao Qin soared into the sky, heading for the warship carrying the ghost race's 3rd heaven Emperor Wu. Before Elder Ma could recover from his shock, he saw half of the flag falling from the sky. The instant Shao Chun charged onto the warship, he killed the 2 ghost race cultivators guarding the banner. Then he chopped off the banner with a palm strike. Immediately, the disciples of the Haoqin sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace on the island were startled. After being stunned for a while, they recovered their wits and cheered. It's the Blue Dragon King. The Blue Dragon King, Shao Qin, came out and chopped off the other side's banner. When the ghost race cultivators who had been charging forward saw the banner suddenly fall, they all paused. Their charging footsteps paused for a moment. How can this be? The banner broke in an instant. Who is this person? He is very fast. Panic spread in the hearts of these ghost race cultivators, and their auras immediately weakened. Imo-chin, who was beside Elder Ma, stepped forward and said, "Elder Ma, if we do not fight now, when will we?" A brilliant light flashed in Elder Ma's eyes. His emperor's might spread out as he shouted, "Disciples guarding the island in the middle, heed my orders. The Blue Dragon King has already chopped off the other side's banner. We will definitely win this battle. Everyone, come with me and kill all these ghost race cultivators. Kill!" With Xiao Chen chopping off the banner and Elder Ma and the two girls leading the charge, the many disciples on the island in the middle burned with fighting spirit, charging forward with a flourishing aura. A fierce battle broke out on the vast lake surface in an instant. When Xiao Chen suddenly appeared in the sky and chopped off the banner, the ghost race Emperor Wu, who stood on the bow of the warship, showed an extremely sullen expression. The black-robed Emperor Wu's pale face filled with murderous intent. He looked at Xiao Chen and said coldly, "I was wondering what was going on. The two corpse race Emperor Wu never returned. It turns out that the famous Blue Dragon King is here." The white-robed Xiao Chen, who carried a bronze sword box on his back, stood on the warship's railing. Aside from the broken banner, there were also the corpses of two ghost race martial sages. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "There is no need to delay. I'll give you a chance to bring your companions over." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A figure flew over from each of the other three directions. The ghost race Emperor Wu from the other three warships appeared at the same time. They each took a position and surrounded Xiao Chen. The black-robed Emperor Wu at the front was a third heaven martial sage. He did not fear Xiao Chen. When he saw his companions coming over, he smiled and said, "It is good to be courageous. However, being too courageous makes one arrogant and ignorant. The ghost race is far stronger than you imagine. Today is the day you die. Remember this old man's name, Su Muqing." With his companions here, Su Muqing no longer bothered speaking nonsense with Xiao Chen. His figure flashed, and he charged over like a phantom. Su Muqing's footsteps were swift, and his afterimages flickered. It was like there were three people moving. It was hard to tell which was real and which was fake. When Xiao Chen got close, he discovered a specter with auras no weaker than his own on each side. While it looked like only one person made a move, there were actually three strong Emperor Wus attacking at the same time. The other three ghost race First Heaven Emperor Wus also took advantage of the situation to charge over at this moment. Each of them had an Emperor grade specter that was no weaker than the main body. The situation immediately turned into 9 against 5. No wonder this Su Muqing did not panic when facing Xiao Chen at all. This was a critical moment. There was no time for Xiao Chen to think. Xiao Chen's figure moved left and right. It looked like he had 2 more clones, clashing with the attacks of Su Muqing and his 2 specters. Bang! The 3 sounds of fighting overlapped. Su Muqing took 10 steps back, and the 2 specters each took 100 steps back. The afterimages merged, and Xiao Chen stood at the warship's railing. He did not move back at all, and his robes fluttered loudly. Only then did Xiao Chen discover that Xiao Chen did not have any clones. It was just that he was too fast. After attacking 3 times, the afterimages did not have time to fade away, giving the illusion of him splitting into 3. What vast primordial energy! This fellow has not advanced to Martial Emperor yet. How does he have such accumulations? Su Muqing felt startled in his heart. He revealed a grave expression as he shouted, "Don't hold anything back. Kill him directly. The contribution we will make will be much greater than conquering Maple Leaf Lake." Xiao Chen, who was at the bow, did not have much time to rest. He had just knocked back Su Muqing when the other 3 Ghost Race Emperor Wu's specters surrounded him. Xiao Chen stood at the warship's railing, using his palm as a saber. His figure was like a fallen leaf in the wind, swaying up and down. Shao Chun faced the ghost race Emperor Wu's relentless barrage of attacks like a storm. Shao Chen's body seemed unsteady at times, falling over. However, the moment he was about to fall, he suddenly straightened up like a dragon. Shao Chun tumbled back and forth, swaying left and right. Occasionally, he stood on one leg and spun around. Shao Chen's figure changed unpredictably, leaving behind countless afterimages. In this small space, he brought out the fish dragon art to its limits. It looked like there were thousands of changes, but in reality, his feet had not moved at all from start to finish. Shao Chen brought out the profoundness of the fish dragon art to its fullest. Several of the attacks looked like they had struck him. However, he was like a fish in the water, separated by a layer of water. Being hit was just an illusion, but in reality, he had still brushed past Shao Chen. Big Brother Su, the brothers below, can't hold on any longer. A ghost race cultivator, who was distracted by the battle below, asked somewhat anxiously. His mental state had clearly turned anxious. Su Muqing said coldly, "Don't worry about it. As long as we kill him, we'll make a huge profit. I don't believe that he can outlast the four of us. No matter how profound his movement technique is, this old man will drag him to death." During the intense battle, Shao Chen fought to his heart's content. When he heard this, he said coldly, "That's right. Indeed, I cannot outlast the four of you by myself. However, when did I say that I would definitely outlast you? From the start to the end, it has been me, Shao Chen, delaying you, not you delaying me." When Su Muqing heard that, his expression changed. Before he could react, he saw a powerful saber intent within 1 kilometer of Shao Chen. Suddenly, a powerful saber intent with unparalleled sharpness appeared in that strange force field. That was the result of Shao Chun merging his saber domain and the Taiji force field. Saber intent gathered in Shao Chen's eyes. His clothes fluttered, and his aura suddenly changed. It was like his body was a powerful treasure saber with a wanton sharpness. Shao Chun ferociously pushed with his left and right hands. A melodious saber hum came from his body and spread throughout the place, like a treasure saber being unsheathed. As Shao Chen pushed with his hands, the incoming saber intent turned into a strong wind, pressing at the four ghost race Emperor Wu. The sharpness of this saber intent inspired fear. The four ghost race cultivators, who had been attacking Shao Chen nonstop, saw a saber light flash before their eyes. A saber light flashed before everyone's eyes. When they saw the incoming saber wind, their attacks paused, and they had no choice but to block. When Shao Chen pushed with his hands, it was like a treasure saber being unsheathed. The fighting spirit in his heart blazed like a blazing fire, burning endlessly with hot-bloodedness. Many thanks to the four of you for your relentless attacks, turning the situation around on this island in the center of the lake. It has been hard on you. This Shao will borrow your heads again." Shao Chun laughed loudly, filled with lofty sentiments. Then he kicked ferociously, and the huge king grade worship under his feet exploded. The few Emperor Wus exchanged moves in the sky, causing the clouds to churn and the sky to change color. Countless mysterious phenomena appeared in the clouds. As Shao Chun laughed, winds blew and clouds churned, shaking the surroundings. Normally, this would definitely attract the attention of many cultivators. However, at this moment, such scenes were happening everywhere in the Haotian province. The phenomenon before them was just an inconspicuous wave amidst the surging waves of phenomena. However, there was no rush. After this battle, this unremarkable wave would kick up a huge wave with the support of the Blue Dragon King's name. Chapter 1362. Following the King-class battleship's violent explosion, the entire void began to shake violently. Shao Chen, who had been defending, suddenly turned sharp. The merger of the Saber domain and the Taiji force field was the start of Xiao Chen's transition from defense to offense. Xiao Chen's figure flashed as he dodged Su Muqing's attack. Then he arrived before the ghost race Emperor Wu, who was only a first heaven martial emperor. Using his palm as a saber, Xiao Chen executed a profound martial technique. For thousands of years, the dynasty will not be destroyed. As he chopped down with the force of his palm, many cities, rivers, and mountains materialized under Xiao Chen's feet. When Xiao Chen got close, an imperial city appeared under his feet. As he stood at the peak of the imperial city, he gathered the luck of a dynasty. Many figures knelt in the tens of thousands of cities, rivers, and mountains for tens of thousands of kilometers, shouting, "Long live!" Invisibly, Xiao Chen's aura soared up again. The cultivator that Xiao Chen attacked felt space and time change. He felt like he was not facing a person, but a bona fide dynasty. Before that aura, the cultivator suddenly felt an urge to kneel and worship, scaring him into breaking out in a cold sweat. After the cultivator recovered his senses, he quickly retreated. However, he was shocked to discover that the surrounding air was as viscous as water. The ripples in the air even twisted space slightly. Space was like water, so one could use water as a saber. As a result, this ghost race Emperor Wu found it extremely difficult to take even one step back. Furthermore, he had to face the ever-present, yet formless saber chi. After taking just 10 steps back, several wounds appeared on his body. Left without a choice, a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Then he led the Emperor Grade Spectre beside him and roared ferociously as he clashed with Xiao Chen's saber. Spectre burst! Emperor Wu shouted, and the eyes of the Emperor Grade Spectre beside him suddenly turned scarlet. Then it charged straight at Xiao Chen. Bang! The spectre directly exploded. A formless soul storm burst out like a tsunami, instantly charging into Xiao Chen's mind. Confusion appeared in his eyes for a moment, and his movements slowed down. You bastard, you caused me to lose an emperor-level spectre. I want your life. That ghost race Emperor Wu was heartbroken. It wasn't easy to raise an emperor-level spectre. It was his lifeblood. Seeing the confusion in Xiao Chen's eyes, he roared furiously and charged at Xiao Chen. However, it was this decision that caused him to lose his life. If he had taken the opportunity to leave, he would have been able to live. Life and death are often separated by a thin line. Xiao Chen's boundless sea of consciousness suddenly surged in. Hordes of evil spirits practically occupied the entire space in his sea of consciousness. They turned into a tsunami, trying to occupy the entire sea of consciousness. It directly devoured Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness, turning him into a living dead with only a physical body but no soul. At this moment, tens of millions of negative emotions rushed into his mind. Xiao Chen felt a headache coming on. He was momentarily at a loss and was on the verge of death. However, at this critical moment, the azure-robed dermic incarnation with a startling baleful aura in his sea of consciousness suddenly drew his saber. A saber light swept through the entire sea of consciousness like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. This saber light was like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Thousands of negative emotions died under this saber light. When the ghost race martial emperors arrived before Xiao Chen, they suddenly discovered that the ghost race martial emperors had already arrived. A vicious light flashed in Xiao Chen's confused eyes. Before he could react, Xiao Chen's saber, which had paused for a moment, chopped down. How can this be? You are not of the deity race. How can you resist the soul storm of an emperor-level specter's self-detonation? This startled the ghost race Emperor Wu. He had not expected Xiao Chen to wake up so quickly. Xiao Chen said coldly, "There are many things that you do not know." Xiao Chen's palm descended. and a saber light of the dynasty's luck materialized. This made his palm radiate a saber light even more dazzling than the sun. Whoosh! The resplendent saber light directly knocked back the ghost race Emperor Wu, causing him to vomit blood. Xiao Chen stepped forward. An electric light burst out from under his feet. Then he punched again. 100 dragon force surged out and exploded this person's body. The physical bodies of the ghost race were much weaker than those of the corpse race in the first place. The ghost race was already severely injured in the first place. Now that Xiao Chen punched again, he naturally did not even have a corpse left. The heart of an emperor shattered, and a large amount of life essence scattered. Specks of light fell like rain. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, moving like a fish in water. At the critical moment, he dodged Su Muqing, who came to help. Then, like a dragon swinging its tail, Xiao Chen moved as fast as lightning. Su Muqing's reinforcements arrived too late. When he saw the ghost race martial emperor die without a corpse, his expression turned extremely sullen. As Su Muqing watched Xiao Chen's figure flicker like a saber light, appearing and disappearing, he forced the other two ghost race martial emperors into a fluster. Su Muqing immediately felt dispirited. Only now did Su Muqing discover that Xiao Chen had been holding back all this time. Xiao Chen had not been delayed at all. Instead, he had forcefully delayed the four of them. This caused the ghost race martial emperors below to suffer a crushing defeat. Under the lead of Elder Ma and Emo Chen, the two women, the ghost race martial emperors slaughtered their way out. Let's go. I'll block him. Su Muqing was extremely decisive. Once he made up his mind, he did not hesitate to charge over and block Xiao Chen. Right now, Su Muqing only had one thought. He could not allow the losses to continue increasing. This time he completely admitted defeat. Elder Su, many thanks. Elder Su, take care. The two ghost race martial emperors heaved a sigh of relief. Then they quickly turned and fled, not daring to linger for even a moment. Xiao Chen was currently in a killing frenzy. He used the Taiji Saber domain to fight the two ghost race martial emperors and two emperor-level specters alone, forcing them into retreat. After Xiao Chen heard Su Muqing's words, he immediately felt disappointed. The other party did not let anger get to his head. This somewhat exceeded his expectations. As long as Su Muqing still hoped to get lucky and kill Xiao Chen, then Xiao Chen would have no problem killing two more ghost race First Heaven Emperor Wu. Now that the other party realized his mistake and blocked him, allowing the other ghost race Emperor Wu to flee, Xiao Chen could only sigh. After all, Xiao Chen could not use his saber right now. He also did not want to expose his Dermic World Trump card, so he did not have the ability to take down Su Muqing instantly. After withdrawing his aura, Xiao Chen showed no intention of giving chase. He looked at Su Muqing and smiled. You are a smart person. Even after suffering such losses, you can still maintain your final bit of rationality. Su Muqing gritted his teeth in hatred. This time, Xiao Chen had tricked him too badly. When he heard Xiao Chen's words, he wanted to eat Xiao Chen alive. Don't give me a chance. If you give me a chance, I will definitely pull out your soul and let you experience all sorts of torture. After saying that, Su Muqing prepared to turn and leave. He was a peak Third Heaven Emperor Wu. He believed that if he left, Xiao Chen would not be able to do anything to him. Xiao Chen retorted coldly, Who allowed you to leave? What's wrong? Are you thinking of keeping me here? Su Muqing turned around and said with a mocking smile, I have a rough idea of your strength. You are just a peak minor Heavenly Emperor Wu. You are just relying on the advantage of that mysterious force field and the saber domain. If you really force me into a corner, you will be the one crying indiscriminately. Su Muqing smiled coldly, thinking that he had seen through Xiao Chen and had nothing to fear. Xiao Chen smiled and said, You are right. However, you are only half right. If you want to leave, you will have to receive a saber strike from me first. If you cannot receive it, then there is no need for you to leave today." Right after Xiao Qin spoke, the area within 1 kilometer of him suddenly turned pitch black. When Xiao Chen reappeared, he brought with him a saber light that was even more dazzling and resplendent than the sun. He soared into the air in an unparalleled manner and sent out a palm strike. This was the first move of the flawless saber technique, void-breaking stance. The smile on Su Muqing's face froze. He had not expected Xiao Qin to erupt with such a sudden saber strike. The intense saber light immediately blinded Su Muqing, making him see only a hazy light. Within the hazy saber light, a figure bathed in golden light appeared, looking like a deity. In a moment of desperation, a beam of light shot out of Su Muqing's body and formed an ancient stone pagoda, encasing him within. This was Su Muqing's life-saving trump card. At a crucial moment, it could block the full power strike of an ordinary greater heavenly Emperor Wu. "Kaxie! Kaxie!" The saber light landed, and the stone pagoda shattered, turning into countless shards shooting in all directions. Pitch-black cracks appeared in space, densely packed and even more complicated than a spiderweb. With his life-saving trump card shattered, blood leaked out of a corner of Su Muqing's lips. He was frightened into a fluster and quickly fled. At this instant, Su Muqing regretted what he said earlier. If he had another chance, he absolutely would not have stopped Xiao Qin and let his companions flee first. Xiao Chen watched Su Muqing flee miserably. Then he scattered the saber light and the Taiji force field around him. Then he said calmly, "I hope that you will be as lucky next time." This fellow actually had a defensive emperor-grade secret treasure. Otherwise, that saber strike would have taken half his life. Chapter 1363. Emperor Wu killed 1 fleeing and 3 more fleeing. The ghost race cultivators below nearly all died. No matter how one looked at it, this was a complete victory. Xiao Qin gently drifted down and landed on the lake. Elder Ma was currently directing the cultivators to clean up the ghost race corpses and some more trophies on the lake's surface. When Elder Ma saw Xiao Qin land, he immediately flew over with a smile. "Little brother Xiao Qin, you are really something. This battle was really delightful." Xiao Qin had a clearer understanding of reality. He smiled softly and said, "It is just that the deity Dao Union does not know that I am here. Next time, when the other party is prepared, it will be much more difficult." Elder Ma thought for a while and his face sank. "It looks like I rejoiced too early. However, no matter what, with little brother Xiao Qin here, I am very confident of defending Maple Leaf Lake." "Right, that's right. As long as the Blue Dragon King is here, Maple Leaf Lake will definitely be able to defend." The disciples of the Haotian sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace laughed at the same time. Clearly, Xiao Chen was now like a stabilizing force in these people's hearts. Xiao Chen felt worried, but he could not show it in front of everyone. After chatting with Elder Ma for a while, he returned to his wooden hut alone. It was already noon. However, many mysterious phenomena appeared in the sky. Space trembled endlessly, causing the clouds to churn. The sky was dark. Not a single ray of sunlight could be seen. The battle at Maple Leaf Lake had ended. However, that did not mean that the battles at the other nodes had ended as well, especially the core node of the 9th layer, Meteor Trail City. At this moment, Meteor Trail City was enduring wave after wave of intense attacks. Most of the deity Dao Union's Emperor Wu and the King Grade warships were gathered there. As long as they broke Meteor Trail City, the 9th layer of formations would shatter and cease to exist. The deity Dao Union's front lines would advance as well. Inside the wooden hut, Xiao Chen did not care about the situation elsewhere. He sat cross-legged and placed his hands on his knees. He circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, continuously absorbing the spiritual energy of the world to nourish his law energy. In the heart of an emperor, the 100 strands of primordial energy intertwined, forming a purple whirlpool. At the bottom of the vortex was a lake that was formed by the pure power of the laws of the world. Countless purple specks of light fell like raindrops, nourishing the lake. Then the lake began to feed back the purple vortex, condensing 100 strands of primordial energy. This was a rather troublesome cultivation method. If one could directly absorb primordial energy, then there would be no need to continue cultivating the laws of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, in this land of exile, the absorption of primordial energy was limited. It was rumored that only after reaching the Supreme Being level would there be no more restrictions. This was also the reason why Supreme Beings could calmly refine the primordial pill. While Shao Chen was silently cultivating, the mysterious sword box on his back also released a warm current. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth that Shao Chen had absorbed was strengthened. It was extremely miraculous. 2 days had passed, and the weight of the sword box had lightened considerably. However, it was still unknown when it would be completely unsealed. Without a saber, Shao Chen's strength dropped by a quarter. Furthermore, this was under the condition that he comprehended the flawless saber Dao. If it were any other bladesman without a suitable saber, their combat prowess would drop by at least half. Dong! 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 Knocking rang out, and Shao Chen opened his eyes. Then he casually waved his hand, and the door gently opened. Elder Ma, Mo Chen, and Yu Bingyan entered at the same time. They handed Shao Chen 3 jade bottles and said with a smile, "Little brother Shao, these are your rewards. There are 3 bottles of primordial pills, and each bottle contains 5 primordial pills. They correspond to the 3 Emperor Wu pills that you killed. The envoys of the inner palace were all stunned by your military merits. No one has ever obtained so many primordial pills before." Shao Chen's eyes lit up. The primordial pill. That was truly good stuff. Right now, Shao Chen had 100 strands of primordial energy because the Flame Rock Sovereign had given him the primordial pills. As Elder Ma handed the jade bottles to Shao Chen, he could not hide the envy in his eyes at all. Shao Chen smiled. This was human nature. He would not bother about this. How are the battles at the other nodes? Shao Chen asked as he received the medicinal pills. He clearly felt that the Deity Dao Union's attack this time was exceptionally ferocious. Elder Ma sighed and said it was very dangerous. Several nodes nearly fell. Fortunately, the Fiend race's reinforcements arrived. The battles in most areas have already ended. The casualties are very severe. Only Meteor Trail City is still fighting. The Fiend race's reinforcements arrived? Shao Chen entered deep thought. Then he asked, "In that case, should we go and provide reinforcements?" Elder Ma shook his head and said there's no need. Our nodes are also very important. If Meteor Trail City needs reinforcements, there will be a meteor soaring into the sky. Anyone within 5 million kilometers will be able to see it. Shao Chen nodded. Just as he was about to say something, the entire defense suddenly trembled intensely. Undercurrents surged in Maple Leaf Lake, and the fallen leaves on the lake's surface scattered everywhere. What's going on? Horror flashed on the faces of Mo Chen and Elder Ma as they asked in confusion. This horror came for no reason, appearing out of nowhere. It was incredibly strange. Only Shao Chen and Elder Ma felt horrified. They exchanged glances and roughly guessed what happened. These two had the heart of an emperor and were extremely sensitive to the aura of experts. If they guessed right, a prime had appeared. Elder Ma said with a grave expression, "Right now, the Deity Dao Union has 3 primes on the surface. Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Dongyue, ghost emperor. It is impossible for Emperor Forsaken to appear. If he did, his aura would be even stronger. It can only be the heaven-punishing corpse god or the Dongyue, ghost emperor." Shao Chen added, "The aura of the ghost race is extremely sinister. If it is the Dong Yue, Ghost Emperor, we should be able to feel a chill. It might very well be the heaven-punishing corpse god. Emo-chan exclaimed in shock. A prime appearing so early? Are they bringing forward the final battle? Elder Ma rejected that idea. No, neither side can bear the consequences of the final battle now. This should just be a probing exchange. However, when primes fight, even if it is just a probing exchange, the shockwaves will spread far and wide. Furthermore, if anyone ends up at a disadvantage, it will be a huge blow to their morale. Xiao Qin agreed with Elder Ma's opinion. In reality, he had always believed that the crux of this battle was not with primes. It had never been among primes. Instead, it was among martial emperors below primes. Primes were existences that stood at the peak of the Kunlun realm. They would not fight to the death with each other. Even if they were mortal enemies, they would have a tacit understanding with each other. Ing Zongtian, since you became a prime, you have not fought with anyone yet. Do you dare to fight with this corpse god? A boundless laughter rang out in the sky, which was filled with strange phenomena. Following this laughter, a loud laughter rang out. Following this laughter, the many mysterious phenomena in the sky vanished like smoke. The continuously churning clouds split in half and retreated. Whoosh! The long-awaited sunlight reappeared. The dark and gloomy sky was swept away, and sunlight illuminated the surrounding 5 million kilometers. Gazes peered through the wooden window into the wooden hut that Xiao Chen was in, leaving mottled spots of light behind. Xiao Chen looked at the sky through the window. He vaguely saw a stocky, middle-aged man with his upper body bared walking towards the sky above Meteor Trail City. Instantly, the auras of the deity Dao Union cultivators attacking Meteor Trail City soared, and their attacks became much sharper. Corpse God? Big Brother Xing Tian, we both know that there are no gods in this world. Why do you have to be like those deity race cultivators, deceiving yourselves? A blazing sun rose in Haotian City. This sun looked like fire, burning the sky for 5 million kilometers around. A figure slowly walked out of the sun. His gaze pierced into the heaven-punishing corpse god from a boundless distance. Gods or not, those are just minor details. There is no need to speak nonsense. Let me ask you this. Do you dare to walk out of the worldly mountain river Great Sun Formation and fight? The heaven-punishing corpse god said as he met this gaze. It had been 1,000 years since the heaven-punishing corpse god became a prime. He was very confident in facing Ing Zongtian, so he challenged the heaven-punishing corpse god again. Why not? Ing Zongtian stood on the sun and soared into the sky. A battle between primes was about to begin. Chapter 1364. This was a battle between primes. Xiao Chen's heart surged with excitement as he rushed out of the wooden hut. The others quickly followed, not willing to be slow either. Primes were already rare. A battle between primes was something that had not happened in the past 1,000 years. It was hard not to be excited. The other disciples on the small island in the middle of the lake had already left their wooden huts long ago, staring at the sky without blinking. High up in the sky, Ing Zongtian, who stood on the sun, crossed 5 million kilometers in a few short steps. From the distant Haotian City, Xiao Qin directly arrived above Meteor Trail City. Clearly, he already grasped some state of space. He was not like Xiao Qin, who only scratched the surface and did not even cross the threshold. When the stout Xing Tian, who looked like a deity, saw Ing Zongtian arrive, he smiled and said, "Just 10% of my strength. How about playing a little?" Ing Zongtian wore long robes and looked rather frail. The instant he left the formation, the sun under his feet vanished as well. Then he said indifferently, "That's exactly what I wanted." Clearly, the two could not truly engage in a life-and-death battle. At their level, there were many things that they did not care about. There would not be any deep grudges between them. Once they truly fought to the death, the shock waves would be too great. Neither side would be able to bear it. I have not fought for a long time already. Zongtian, I hope that you will not lose too quickly." The Xingtian laughed loudly and clenched his right fist. "Kassier! Kassier!" His bones crackled and winds blew. Clouds churned as thousands of dragon images appeared behind him. This startled Shao Chen. This was 1,000 dragon force. 10% of his strength was 1,000 dragon force. In that case, wouldn't his full strength be 10,000 dragon force or even higher? Furthermore, the dragon images behind him were clearly more realistic. The dragon images appeared indistinct, hard to distinguish between real and fake. The Xingtian's use of vital qi was probably much more brilliant than Shao Chen's. Even if they both used 100 dragon force, Shao Chen would not be able to defeat the Xingtian. I've long heard that the heaven-punishing corpse god is the first person to prove his Tao with his physical body. His physical body is now comparable to a top emperor-level magic treasure. Ordinary magic weapons will not be able to injure him, Elder Ma said with slight surprise. It was obvious that the heaven-punishing corpse god's combat prowess was deeply shocked. Boom! The heaven-punishing corpse god pushed off the air and appeared in front of Zongtian in an extremely phantom-like manner. He raised his hand and punched out. 1,000 dragons roared behind him and gathered in his fist. His entire right arm transformed into a dragon, shining with a resplendent golden light. Shao! Chen's eyes lit up. He saw through this heaven-punishing corpse god's movement technique with one glance. This was using force to control space. The principle was the same as Shao Chen's using saber to control space. In truth, the heaven-punishing corpse god did not move. He merely used his vital qi to control space. His body didn't move, but the space around him seemed to shift, and he was now directly in front of Zongtian. This was the final mystery of the void-breaking stance. However, the heaven-punishing corpse god was already very familiar with this set of moves. It was like he was taking a leisurely stroll in the park. As for Shao Chen, he was still bitterly pursuing it. There was a huge gap between them. Shao Chen no longer dared to look away. He had a feeling that, after watching this battle, his flawless saber technique would improve further. When the heaven-punishing corpse god punched, it was like a true dragon came to life, charging over forcefully. Originally, Shao Chen thought that Zongtian was not as strong as the other party and would not clash head-on with this punch. However, to Shao Chen's surprise, Zongtian did not choose to dodge. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in his palm. It vaguely seemed like a sun was forming. Facing the heaven-punishing corpse god's punch, Shao Chen pushed with a flip of his palm. At this instant, it seemed like dawn had broken. A blazing sun leaped out of Zongtian's palm. The blazing light dyed the sky for millions of kilometers behind Zongtian red, as if half the sky was dyed red with blood. When the fist and palm met, the sun clashed with the true dragon. The entire sky trembled intensely, and space immediately turned blurry. The two sides fighting in Meteor Trail City felt this the most. Countless shock waves turned into motes of starlight as they descended. When the motes of starlight touched them, they exploded, radiating for 5,000 kilometers around. However, even under such circumstances, the two sides still fought intensely for Meteor Trail City. Looking at the sky again, in just a single glance, Zongtian and the heaven-punishing corpse god had already exchanged more than 1,000 moves. Their movements were so fast that Shao Chen could no longer see them clearly. He could only catch some traces of their movements from their trajectories. However, even if there were only a few traces, Shao Chen felt that he benefited greatly, unable to take his eyes off them. Whoosh! Suddenly, a fiery red mote of light mixed with the true dragon's fragments, falling towards Maple Leaf Lake like a rain of light. Oh no! Quickly run! Elder Ma's expression changed drastically as he exclaimed in extreme panic. This was an undeserved calamity. Although the two primes fought with only 10% of their strength, the shock waves from this clash were not small. Be it the deity Tao Union or the Haoqian sect, they were both affected and suffered significant losses. Don't panic. Shaoqin remained calm. He waved his hand, and the formation plate appeared in his palm. Then he formed hand seals with one hand and sent primordial energy into the formation plate at the same time. Suddenly, water splashed up on Maple Leaf Lake. The formation spirit at this node turned into a huge water bird, shining with spiritual light, and broke out of the water. As Xiao Chen held the formation plate, his figure flickered like a divine dragon swinging its tail, kicking up a strong wind. Then he landed on the formation spirit water bird, bathed in a gentle light. Riding on the huge water bird, shining with spiritual light, Xiao Chen soared into the air. As he stood under this formation spirit, Xiao Chen could clearly feel the wind blowing and grass moving within 5,000 kilometers of Maple Leaf Lake. He could feel the pulse of the tall mountain, the breathing of Maple Leaf Lake, and the surging spiritual energy in the formation's patterns. Xiao Chen felt like he had completely merged with the formation. With every move, he could easily drive vast energy. The energy of the formation. This was the support of the formation. Xiao Chen felt very confident. As he faced the descending rain of light, he threw two palm strikes. One palm strike was called Thousand-Year Flame, and the other was called Thousand-Year Death. Two full moons soared up from behind Xiao Chen. When the two moons appeared together, they shone with boundless light and clashed with the descending rain of light, not letting a single drop fall. Boom! The rain and the full moons clashed. A startling explosion rang out in an instant. The shock wave surged over, and Xiao Chen could not dodge in time, getting struck by it. Xiao Chen tumbled a few times in the air before landing safely. Casually wiping off the blood at a corner of his lips, Xiao Chen looked at the sky and smiled bitterly. Is this really just 10% of a prime strength? Just the shock wave alone had caught him off guard. If not for the fish dragon art allowing him to dodge at the last moment, he would have been severely injured. Big brother Xiao Chen! Mo Chen and the others rushed over and asked about Xiao Chen's injuries. Xiao Chen stood up and waved his hand. He smiled and said, "It's just a superficial wound. It's worth it." Xiao Chen only suffered some internal injuries in exchange for the safety of the entire Maple Leaf Lake. Of course, it was worth it. When some of the Maple Leaf Lake disciples saw this scene, they immediately felt incredibly moved. Xiao Chen could have avoided getting injured. However, at the crucial moment, he still charged forward without hesitation. Just as the group was about to speak, their eardrums suddenly trembled. Several of them revealed pained expressions, temporarily going deaf. Xiao Chen looked up and saw the 10 blazing suns in Xongtian's palm in the sky slowly entering his palm. The surrounding afterglow turned into rainbow light and slowly faded away. The heaven-punishing corpse god retreated quickly. Dragon patterns covered his exposed upper body. The dragon patterns flickered with light, looking like huge dragons swimming around Xing Tian's body. As the heaven-punishing corpse god retreated, the scenery in the sky seemed like a reflection in water, moving forward. Ing Zongtian performed a cupped fist salute and said with a smile, "Brother Xing Tian, I defeated you by half a move. Many thanks for going easy on me." After saying that, Xiao Chen flung out his long sleeves and directly returned to Haotian City. Xing Tian's expression turned sullen. Clearly, he could not accept this fact. However, he was someone with status, after all. Even so, he could control his temper. After snorting coldly, he turned around and stepped back, feeling depressed and unresigned. After reacting, Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. He clenched his right fist tightly. Victory! Big brother Ing won. Xiao Chen thought about how the heaven-punishing corpse god came in a ferocious manner and left in a depressed mood. Chapter 1365. The short fight between the two supreme martial artists ended with Ng Zongtian winning by half a move. Only 10% of their strength was enough to affect the camps that were thousands of miles away from each other. After the heaven-punishing corpse god lost by half a move, the morale of the deity Dao Union's side plummeted. Furthermore, the fiend race reinforcements arrived. The deity Dao Union could not take down the heaven-punishing corpse god even after a long time, so they could only retreat helplessly. The mountains around Meteor Trail City were no longer mountains, and the rivers were no longer rivers. The battles of several martial emperors had destroyed the landscape of the mountains and rivers, which were not supported by formations beyond recognition. Although the battle had stopped, the mysterious phenomenon in the sky showed no signs of disappearing. Dark clouds covered the dusky sky, stretching for thousands of miles as far as the eye could see. There were explosions in the sky from time to time. That was the power of the son of the Haotian supremacy. Dragon roars could be heard within the black clouds. That was the heaven-punishing corpse gods surging vital chi. There were also all sorts of mysterious phenomena, which were the martial techniques executed by the other martial emperors. On the city wall, the three old men looked at the destroyed battlefield and did not say anything for a long time. The three of them had powerful auras and dense battle intent that had yet to dissipate. The person in the middle was the vice-sect leader of the Haotian sect. He was a genius. 10 years ago, he was only a hair's breadth away from Emperor Wu. Now he had reached the 6th level of Greater Celestial Emperor Wu. He was much stronger than many of the seniors who had advanced to Martial Emperor earlier. He was the leader of the entire 9th layer of formations. On his left was a supreme elder of the Thunder and Lightning Palace. His cultivation was at the 5th heavenly layer, and his name was Wang Su. His comprehension of the Tao of thunder and lightning was astonishing. As for the person on the right, he looked travel-worn. He was the great emperor of the monster race, Jiang Chuan. The Haotian sect's vice-sect master, Feng Baiyu, said, "This time many thanks to brother Jiang Chuan for coming to help." Jiang Chuan smiled and said, "It's fine. We're here on the Fox King's orders, so there's no need to be polite. Furthermore, given the current situation of the Kunlun continent after the Haotian sect falls, the deity Dao Union will definitely target the fiend race." The fiend race had the most people, and Emperor Wu also had the most. However, there were only 2 sovereign martial emperors. They were actually the weakest of the 5 races. If the Haotian sect fell, the fiend race would definitely not be a match for the deity Dao Union. Helping the Haotian sect now was the same as helping himself. The Fox King could see it clearly. Wang Su said at an opportune moment, "The deity Dao Union does not seem to have any intention of launching an all-out attack. They have been testing the waters these days." Feng Baiyu nodded, expressing his agreement with Wang Su's opinion. He continued, "The other party is probably very ambitious and wants to defeat us in one fell swoop. It's not as simple as the 9th layer of the formation. Let's not talk about this. After today's recuperation, gather the people in charge of each node and discuss it together. Yes, it's time to discuss countermeasures." In Maple Leaf Lake, after the battle ended, Xiao Qin immediately chose to meditate. He had gained a lot from the Battle of Primes and gained many new ideas for the flawless saber technique. At a rather desolate area on the vast lake, Xiao Qin stood on it with his eyes closed in deep thought. The scene of the heaven-punishing corpse god controlling the air with force flashed in his mind. Controlling the air with force was a very difficult technique. It required extremely high attainments in the state of space to accomplish. Xiao Qin could not do it. He was far from it. He did not have such thoughts, either. Xiao Qin only had one thought: to advance the flawless saber technique's void-breaking stance further, to consummation, to the point where he could control the air with the saber. Even a space of 5,000 kilometers could be called space. The state of space was abnormally profound. Even Emperor Wu could only grope around the edges, unable to fully grasp it. Forcefully tearing space like how Emperor Wu did was not comprehending the state of space. That was the stupidest and most barbaric method. Only the heaven-punishing corpse god and big brother Im Zongtian could be considered to have grasped the state of space slightly. The space Tao was ethereal and unpredictable, controlled by the saber. Originally, Shao Qin had inadvertently achieved controlling the air with the saber once. Now that he saw the Battle of Primes, he gained a lot of comprehensions. Countless strands of light formed clues in Shao Chen's mind, intertwining with each other. Many ideas appeared, but they were quickly rejected. Shao Qin eliminated the clues in his mind. At the same time, Shao Chen's body started to move slowly. The lake water under his feet alternated between being calm and moving. That was Shao Chen's continuous trial and error. Time passed slowly. After some time, only one of the complicated clues remained in Shao Chen's mind. Just at this moment, Shao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, he instantly executed the first move of the flawless saber technique. Break. The instant the light vanished, Shao Chen's body vanished as well. When Shao Chen reappeared, he was 100 meters away. Then he used his palm as a saber and slowly descended. A crack that was 1,000 meters long silently appeared on the smooth surface of the lake. Looking down from the crack, one could see the silt below with the naked eye. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. The crack that had appeared on the surface of the lake still hadn't closed. It was like an invisible wall had forcefully parted the lake water in half, looking exceptionally strange. However, only Shao Qin knew that the thing spreading through the crack was the saber intent of his void-breaking stance. What was even stranger was that such a mighty saber strike did not cause any commotion on the lake surface. Shao Chen revealed an excited expression as he muttered to himself, "This is really wondrous. Controlling the air with the saber. So this is how it feels. Controlling is not truly controlling space. Instead, it is leaping out of space, turning it into a flat ground and moving about. This saber strike of mine can be considered to be truly perfected. Next, I will use this battle to derive the second move of the flawless saber technique." Shao Chen's eyes gleamed with strong confidence. He had a premonition. He had a premonition that the day this flawless saber technique was completed would be the day the Kunlun realm's saber sovereign would change hands. Naturally, it would be Shao Chen. Blue Dragon King, the Vice Sect Master invites you to Meteor Trail City. Just as Shao Chen was savoring the many mysteries of this move, Elder Ma quickly flew over. Shao Chen recovered his wits and withdrew his joyful and excited expression. Then he asked calmly, "Elder Ma, do you know why the Vice Sect Master is looking for me?" Elder Ma smiled and replied, "He did not say the specifics. However, I heard that the Vice Sect Master gathered all the people in charge of the 9th layer. He probably has something important to discuss. In that case, I'll go." Meteor Trail City was very far from Maple Leaf Lake, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. Even when Shao Qin executed the fish dragon art to rush over, it took him 4 hours. The Emperor's aura lingered at the city gates, but it still did not scatter. When Shao Chen looked up, he could still see the remnant marks in the sky where the 2 primes had fought. It was like the 2 primes were still fighting. As Shao Chen stood below the city gates and looked back, he could not help but sigh when he saw the shattered mountains and rivers. That place had once been a bustling city of the Haotian province. Now, it had turned into a patch of yellow soil, flattened. Is the Blue Dragon King, Shao Chen, below the city gates? Someone shouted from the city walls. Shao Chen found this voice somewhat familiar. When he looked up, he saw a person dressed in purple with a sharp gaze. This person's handsome face gave off a resolute air, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. How familiar! Shao Chen thought for a moment and immediately recalled who this person was. the Thunder and Lightning Palaces, and Juanqi, the former leader of the Tianwu Domain's 7 giants. The first time Shao Qin saw this person, the might of his whip had shocked him greatly. However, it was not strange for this person to be in Meteor Trail City. So many experts of the Thunder and Lightning Palace had come, including the Vice Palace Master, and Juanqi's presence here made perfect sense. If Shao Chun guessed right, and Juanqi should be like Shao Qin, responsible for guarding a node. When Juanqi saw Shao Chen's appearance, he smiled and said, "It looks like Brother Shao remembers who I am. Activate the formation plate in your hand, and you can pass through the barrier and enter directly." Just as Shao Chen was about to go up, a small head suddenly appeared on the city walls. This person looked pure and charming. Her skin was as smooth as snow, and her eyes looked like pearls and gems. "Elder brother Shao Chen, quickly come up. Quickly come up. Bai has been waiting for a long time." Chapter 1366. Bai. Shao Chun revealed a smile on his calm face. Back then, when he learned that the fiend race reinforcements were rushing over, he wondered if Bai would come. Unexpectedly, she really did come. Shao Chen pushed off with his feet and activated the formation plate in his hand. Then he easily landed on the city wall. Shao Chen saw not only Juanqi and Bai on the city wall, but many of his friends as well. First Senior's sister, Shui Lingling, the fiend race's Peacock King Kong Yuan, and the Fox King's personal disciple, Yuan Su, were all there. When Bai saw Shao Chen arrive, she immediately stepped forward without any fear and grabbed Shao Chen's arm. Then she giggled and said, "Elder brother Shao Chen, why are you only here now? Everyone has been waiting for you for a long time." Shao Chen smiled and said, "I was already very fast. If I had known that Bai was here, I would have been even faster." When Shao Bai heard these words, a blush appeared on her fair face. She did not look like the famous adopted daughter of the Fox King, the next successor of the Fiend King. Shui Lingling knew about the relationship between Bai and Shao Chen, so she did not mind. She smiled and said, "Let's go. Don't let the Vice Sect Master and the others wait too long." Right. The conversation between people of the same generation was very lively. As the group spoke, they arrived at the palace, Lord's residence. Along the way, Shao Chen discovered many buildings in the city. Although there were formations supporting them, they were already significantly damaged. Dusk hung over the city walls, making everyone feel somewhat worried. This made everyone feel somewhat worried. After the repeated attacks, the damage that Meteor Trail City received was slowly increasing. Over time, the more time passed, the greater the pressure of defending the city would be. Formations also needed time to be maintained. However, the Deity Dao Union's attacks rarely stopped. The speed of repair was far slower than the speed of damage. However, there was no fear of the city breaking. The fear was that the moment the city was broken, they would not be able to retreat easily, and the other party would break through several layers of formations. For example, it was like this at the start. The reinforcements of the Deity Dao Union's Ghost Race, Deity Race, and Corpse Race suddenly arrived. The Haotian sect was caught off guard, and the martial artists at the outermost perimeter retreated one after another. As for the Deity Dao Union, they did not give Shao Chen any time to catch his breath, frantically giving chase. The Haotian sect only managed to regain their footing after breaking through 5 layers of formations. It could be said that they had suffered heavy losses. The group chatted as they walked. Soon, they arrived at the great hall of the city, Lord Residence of Meteor Trail City. In the main hall, the people in charge of the other nodes had already arrived. Sitting in the middle was Vice Sect Master Fangbiu. The Fiend Race Great Emperor Jiangchuan and the Thunder and Lightning Palaces, Wang Su, sat on his left and right. In the entire hall, there were only 3 people who had the cultivation of Great Emperor, and the rest only had the cultivation of Emperor Wu. Before the arrival of the monster race Emperor Jiangchuan, there were only 2 greater celestial Emperor Wu guarding the entire 9th layer of the formation. The pressure of the deity Dao Yunyan's attack was easy to imagine. It was not that the Haotian sect and the Thunder and Lightning Palace did not have other greater celestial Emperor Wu. It was just that the other greater celestial Emperor Wu had even more intense battles to fight and could not free himself. Seeing Shao Qin enter, the 3 greater celestial emperors smiled faintly and stood up at the same time to welcome him. Feng Baiyu walked over with large strides and sized up Shao Qin. He said, "Not bad. I still remember the first time I met you. You were not even a martial sage. Now, in a mere 10 years, you have already become an influential person in the entire Kunlun realm. Everyone, let me make introductions. This is the Blue Dragon King, Shao Qin, the Dragon's Gate's master. He is also the disciple that my Haotian sect is most proud of. After guarding Maple Leaf Lake for 2 days, he already killed 3 Emperor Wu of the deity Dao Yunyan." Whoosh! The crowd was shocked. Killing 3 martial emperors in 2 days. This result was too valiant. Normally, even if Emperor Wu could not defeat his opponent, he would still be able to flee. Unless the difference in strength was too great, there would be no way to kill Emperor Wu. After all, the Haotian sect and the deity Dao Yunyan had been at war for a long time. They had severely injured many Emperor Wu. However, the number of Emperor Wu killed could be counted on 2 hands. Bai opened his eyes wide and said with a smile, "Elder brother Shao Qin is really incredible. You are still as incredible as before." And Juanqi and the others also revealed shock in their eyes. They had long heard of the Blue Dragon King's name. Now that they personally heard of his accomplishments, they realized that he truly lived up to his name. Immediately, everyone present stood up and greeted Shao Qin. Shao Qin had already experienced many situations. He smiled and dealt with them calmly, not arrogant or impatient. After exchanging greetings, Feng Baiyu got everyone to take a seat and discuss countermeasures. At the same time, the upper echelon of the various races gathered in the headquarters of the deity Dao Yunyan, which was responsible for attacking the ground. They frowned heavily as they read the battle reports. There was a total of 6 people in the room. The deity race greater heavenly martial emperor Leng Jingyang, the Phoenix's Passion Palace's Su Qianxing, 2 old men from the White Emperor City and the Divine Martial Gate, and 2 greater heavenly martial emperors from the Ghost Race and the Corpse Race. Without exception, these 6 people were all greater heavenly Emperor Wu. They were also the ones responsible for attacking Meteor Trail City. Compared to Meteor Trail City, which only had 3 greater heavenly martial emperors, the deity Dao Yunyan's side was more than twice as strong. What does everyone think about this node at Maple Leaf Lake? Leng Jingyang asked softly as he put down the report in his hand. At Maple Leaf Lake, the Ghost Race elites were completely wiped out. Of the 4 Emperor Wus, 1 died and 3 were injured. Of all the nodes of the battle, the casualties were the most severe, nearly unbearable. The Corpse Race greater heavenly martial emperor smiled and said, "The Ghost Race Emperor Wu is only SOO. He seems even weaker than my Corpse Race." Some time ago, the Corpse Race lost 2 Emperor Wus. The Ghost Race Old Man mocked the Corpse Race Old Man. Now that there was an opportunity, the Corpse Race Emperor Wu naturally retorted rudely. The Ghost Race greater heavenly martial emperor snorted coldly and said, "That is the Blue Dragon King, Shao Qin. Even if it were you, you would not be able to do anything to him. Stop arguing. In my opinion, we might as well give up on this node. The 6 of us have to attack Meteor Trail City and cannot get away. As for the other minor heavenly Emperor Wus, they are just cannon fodder. As long as we take down Meteor Trail City, he will have no choice but to retreat." The Phoenix's Passion Palace's Su Qianxing suggested, "Speaking of which, when are the 3,000 Emperor Wus of your deity race preparing to make a move? As long as the deity race steels themselves, the 3,000 Emperor Wus will be able to sweep through the entire Haotian sect in an instant." The old man from the White Emperor City said with some dissatisfaction, The moment this old man said that, the greater heavenly martial emperors of the other races immediately looked at Lung Jingyang. The deity race relied on the power of faith. They claimed to have 3,000 deities, all of them as strong as Emperor Wu. Although those that relied on faith to advance to martial emperor were weaker, there were too many of them. If they attacked at the same time, even a prime would fear them. Lung Jingyang's expression turned serious as he said, "That is the trump card of my deity race. How can we use it so easily? I heard that the corpse race has been raising several hundred emperor-grade demonic corpses for the past tens of thousands of years. Why do I not see the corpse race taking them out? There is also the ghost race's demon soul army and the 3 holy masters' holy beast totems. I have not seen you use any of them. No one was a fool. The various races all had strong trump cards. However, they would definitely not use them so easily in the Haotian sect, a battlefield that had not reached its bottom yet. Once the various races lost their trump cards, the damage would be to the luck of their entire race. If things went wrong, they might even face extinction. The atmosphere turned somewhat awkward. It was clear that although the deity Dao Union was strong, the various races and factions might not be of one mind. They all held back from each other, each harboring their own little schemes. Humph! In any case, your deity race is the strongest. This deity Dao Union is also something that your deity race gathered. In this war, you should put in more effort, the corpse race greater heavenly martial emperor said coldly. Su Qianqing tried to smooth things over, saying, "Let's not talk about this anymore. After all, we are just minor characters and cannot really make any decisions. Even if Brother Lung wants to use more of the deity race's strength, he would have to get the deity sovereign's permission first. It is the same for us." The resistance of the disagreement still stemmed from the fact that the Haotian sect was simply too difficult to deal with. Even with the strength of the greater heavenly martial emperors present, they felt that breaking the 9th layer of formations would be somewhat difficult. If they continued fighting, the losses would only increase. The fall of every Emperor Wu was a heart-wrenching loss. My deity Dao Union is so strong, breaking the other party's 9th layer of formations. It looks like the Haotian sect will be destroyed soon. Why is it that the more we fight, the less confident everyone seems to be? Just at this moment, a melodious voice rang out outside the room. Di Wuk led Tian Yushi, the 3 holy masters, Xingju and Xie Zishuan in with large strides. Di Wuk looked radiant, his face brimming with smiles. His countenance brimmed with confidence. Greetings, divine son. The many greater heavenly martial emperors in the room quickly stood up and greeted him. Everyone, there is no need to be so polite. I am here with the orders of the Alliance Chief and the various Vice Alliance Chiefs. The great decisive battle will arrive soon. No matter how the Haotian sect resists, it will find it hard to escape destruction. Chapter 1367. The discussions in Meteor Trail City were somewhat dull, as most of them could not make any substantial suggestions. They knew very little about the deity Dao Union. However, in today's battle, the Haotian Exalt had defeated the heaven-punishing corpse god by half a move, causing everyone's morale to be higher. In addition, Shaoqin had killed 3 Emperor Wu in 2 days. Therefore, the group of people present were quite optimistic about defending the 9th formation circle. Xiao Chen's expression was calm and unruffled. He only listened quietly and didn't speak much. Xiao Chen's opinion was different from the others. Right now, the deity Dao Union had not truly displayed its might yet. The situation was not optimistic, even somewhat pessimistic. Xiao Chen, what do you think? Speak your mind. There's no need to keep silent. Fan Baiyu, who was sitting in the middle, smiled and pointed at Xiao Chen. After being called out by the vice sect master in front of everyone, Xiao Chen had something he wanted to say. After organizing his thoughts, he said, "In the past 2 days, although the battles at the various nodes were intense, I feel that the deity Dao Union is far from exerting its full strength. Be prepared to retreat at any time. Otherwise, you might be caught unprepared and lose several positions. As soon as these words were spoken, it immediately caused an uproar and incessant discussion. Blue Dragon King, aren't you boosting their morale by saying that? During this period of battle, although our defense was dangerous, none of the nodes were breached. The deity Dao Union's losses are more than 3 times ours. It would not be wrong to say that they suffered heavy losses. That's right, not to mention that our fellow demons have also arrived. Isn't that even more impregnable? Blue Dragon King, you are too humble. Now, there are only 9 formations left. If we retreat 1 formation, we'll have 1 less. When the final battle arrives, the Supremes and Great Emperors will be in a very passive position. That's right, we can't retreat. There were many opinions, but most of them shook their heads and disagreed with Xiao Chen's view. Bai blinked and said, "Everyone, don't be in a hurry to deny it. Let's listen to Big Brother Xiao Chen first. Big Brother Xiao Chen must have other ideas." Fang Baiyu was also astonished at Xiao Chen's opinion. Although he had guessed that the deity Dao Union would make a big move, he had never thought of retreating. This was because they no longer had any capital to retreat. After exchanging glances with the 2 people on his left and right, he smiled and said, "Brother Xiao Chen, we are now at a critical juncture of war. You can't say such disheartening words. Let's end our discussion here. Everyone, please go back and guard your nodes well. As long as the node is not broken, no matter how strong the deity Dao Union is, we will wear them down." When Bai heard this, he immediately became anxious. He wanted to say something, but was stopped by Kong Yuan and Yuan Su. Xiao Chen laughed bitterly in his heart, not giving him a chance to speak at all. However, he also understood Fang Baiyu's actions. At this juncture, retreating would greatly affect their morale. Right now, everyone still had some morale. If they took the initiative to retreat and that morale scattered, the consequences would be dire. Hence, Fang Baiyu did not argue. Then the people in charge of the nodes walked out of the hall calmly, not revealing much on their faces. Junior brother Xiao Chen, wait for a moment. First senior sister, Shui Lingling, Bai, and the others chased after Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen stopped and turned his head back. First senior sister, what's the matter? Shui Lingling sighed and said, "Don't take it to heart. Right now, the vice sect masters and the others are under a lot of pressure. They are not purposely not giving you a chance to speak." However, Bai was clearly dissatisfied. She said softly, "What elder brother Xiao Chen says is definitely right." Bai does not understand why elder brother Xiao Chen is not given a chance to speak. Xiao Chen said seriously, "First senior sister, I understand what you are saying. However, it is fine if you don't say it. I will not get angry over such a small matter. There is no need to worry for me." After saying that, he looked at Bai and said, "Little lass, there is no need to complain about this. There is no absolute right or wrong in this world. It is just that the perspective is different." And Juanqi, who was at the side, said, "Actually, I agree with Xiao Chen's view. However, right now, Haotian City does not have much capital to retreat." The first senior sister added, "Haotian City's formation circles are in groups of 3. If we give up on the 9th layer, the 7th and 8th layer will have to retreat as well. In other words, we only have 3 chances to retreat. We simply cannot do so." Xiao Chen nodded and said, "There is no need to worry. No matter what, I will do my best to guard the node, Maple Leaf Lake. After the battle is over, we will find an opportunity to meet up." And Juanqi smiled and said, "All right, it's a deal. We all have to live. Bai will work hard as well," Bai said seriously as she clenched her fists. "Take care." Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and bid farewell to everyone, then rushed to Maple Leaf Lake. Inside the Great Hall, the fiend race Greater Heavenly Martial Emperor Jiang Chuan showed a somewhat grave expression. He rapped his knuckles on the table and said, "This Shao Qin does not seem to know how to conduct himself. He is not like a greenhorn youth, speaking without thinking." The thunder and lightning palaces, Wang Su added. At the crucial moment, he said to make preparations to retreat in front of everyone. This is simply immature. Now, it is hard to take back what is done. The people in charge of those nodes are probably thinking of holding back. Fang Baiyu, who sat in the middle, appeared somewhat embarrassed. After all, Shao Chen was still considered a member of the Haotian sect. Shao Chen did not know the rules. Even if he felt dissatisfied, he could not say anything. The three powerhouses immediately felt somewhat dissatisfied with Shao Chen. All this was because of a careless remark. Never mind, never mind. No matter what the people in charge of the other nodes are thinking, let us bear more responsibility. Young people are still somewhat inconsiderate. I apologize to the two of you. Fang Baiyu performed a cupped fist salute. When Wang Su and Jiang Chuan saw the situation, they could only accept it helplessly. However, they could not help but feel some dissatisfaction in their hearts. They had gone through so much trouble to come here to guard Meteor Trail City. Yet, their own people attacked them in front of everyone, saying to prepare to retreat at any time, completely ignoring their efforts in the past few days. After returning to Maple Leaf Lake, Shao Qin told his children about what happened in the hall. Mo Chen's and Yu Bingyun's expressions changed slightly, finding this somewhat strange. They exchanged helpless glances. The two girls were very intelligent. How could they not understand that Shao Qin had committed a great taboo? There were some things that could not be said in front of everyone, even if they were the truth. Fang Baiyu gathered everyone together to discuss countermeasures and boost morale. At this difficult moment, he wanted the people in charge of the other nodes to not be disloyal. However, Shao Chen said some things honestly. Naturally, the situation turned somewhat strange. Mo Chan consoled, "Big brother Shao Chen, there is no need to overthink. This bit of grievance is nothing. Just remember your original intentions in coming to help the Haotian sect. You are indebted to the Haotian sect. Just do your best." Yu Bingyun added, "Shao Chen, no matter what, we will support you from the side." Shao Chen felt a warmth in his heart. Unexpectedly, a small matter could cause so many people to worry for him. He shook his head and smiled. "Naturally, I understand the ways of the world. However, there are some problems that I can clearly see through. However, because of some external factors, I have to hold it in and not say anything. This is not in line with my character. If something really happens, I will find it hard to calm down. Even if I have to suffer some grievances, I will not feel bad about it." This was how Shao Chen was. If it were a sect that he did not have a deep relationship with, no matter how much he saw through it, he would not say anything. However, Shao Chen's feelings for the Haotian sect were too deep. Even if he knew that no one would accept what he said, he had to say it. Time passed day by day. However, Shao Chen's words were not verified. The deity Dao Union attacked continuously. However, the Haotian sect, which still relied on the advantage of formations, could not do much. Instead, the deity Dao Union suffered losses, suffering unspeakable misery. While the intense battles continued in the other nodes, Maple Leaf Lake, where Shao Chen was, became peaceful. For the past half a month, Maple Leaf Lake had not suffered any attacks, not giving Shao Chen a chance to make a move. Meteor Trail City's side also did not summon Shao Chen to help. Shao Chen, who had been preparing to make a move, found peace instead. This vast battle that changed the color of the sky for thousands of kilometers around no longer had anything to do with him. However, Shao Chen did not think too much about it. The more things were like this, the more he felt that his guess was correct. Amid this chaos, his heart became even more calm. He worked day and night, perfecting the flawless saber technique's second move, Dragon Subduing Stance. Chapter 1368. The second move of the flawless saber technique was derived from the Dragon Subduing Slash. However, this time, Xiao Qin had a new understanding and view of it. His main focus was on his own strength. When Xiao Qian's vital qi reached close to 1 million vital qi dragons, he could naturally turn into a dragon and move about in his body, roaring in all directions. This was a natural, mysterious phenomenon that did not require much tempering. With a thought, he could produce a mysterious phenomenon, 100 dragons dancing wildly. This was especially so when Xiao Qian saw the heaven-punishing corpse god move his fingers slightly and drive out 1,000 vital qi dragons, easily subduing it with one palm strike. At that time, Xiao Qin wondered if it was possible to subdue 100 vital qi dragons with one saber strike. After a few more deductions, it became even more perfect and suited to him. First, Xiao Qin used his vital qi to form the most realistic, mysterious phenomenon, materializing a soaring true dragon with an unparalleled berserk aura. Then he used his strong mental energy to add the finishing touch, making this mysterious phenomenon indistinguishable from the real and fake. After that, he gathered primordial energy and infused it into the true dragon's body, turning the fake into the real mysterious phenomenon, making it even more tyrannical and ferocious than a true dragon's. Finally, he executed the flawless saber Dao, using his body as a saber to suppress and subdue the 100 true dragons. Xiao Qin used the might of the true dragons to strengthen his saber. The more ferocious the might of the true dragons, the stronger the saber technique would be. This simple saber strike brought out Xiao Qian's vital qi, mental energy, and primordial energy to the fullest. For the past half-month, Xiao Qin had a rare moment of leisure. He spent most of his time studying and perfecting this saber strike. Suddenly, explosions rang out on the calm lake surface. 5 huge dragons emerged from the lake under Xiao Qian's feet. The dragons roared, and another 5 huge dragons flew out from behind Xiao Qin. 10 dragons flew up and circled around Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin continuously simulated the many true dragons he saw in the distant sea dragon grave in his mind. At the same time, magic energy burned continuously in his sea of consciousness. 10 dragon souls made of pure mental energy suddenly formed. With a thought, Xiao Qin leaped out of his forehead and entered the 10 true dragon mysterious phenomena in front. Instantly, it was like adding a finishing touch to a dragon. The huge dragon that was formed from vital qi was like a huge finishing touch. In an instant, he had a soul, becoming very lively. This was especially so for his pair of eyes, which carried the natural might of a dragon, making people not dare to look directly at him. Xiao Qian drove the primordial energy in his heart of an emperor. Then he pushed his palms forward. Each of his palms contained 5 strands of primordial energy. Powerful primordial energy seeped into the true dragon manifestations like blood coursing through their bodies. Thump, thump. The fish swimming in the lake leaped out of the water in a panic. With a splash, all the fish within 10,000 meters fled. Within the surging waves, there were even more enormous ones that shot up into the sky. That was the powerful spirit beast at the bottom of the lake, which had sensed the threat and was fleeing as fast as it could. Roar! Suddenly, one of the 10 true dragons flew over and bared its fangs and claws at Xiao Qian, roaring non-stop. Xiao Qin squinted and saw that this true dragon mysterious phenomena was covered in dragon scales. Its mouth had dragon fangs and dragon tongues. Even though Xiao Qin clearly knew that he materialized these true dragon mysterious phenomena, his mental state still fluctuated. He thought that a true dragon was going to swallow him up. Scatter! Xiao Qin casually waved his hand, and the 10 true dragon mysterious phenomena instantly vanished, turning into strong winds that scattered. The berserk aura and horrifying dragon might disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Xiao Qin muttered to himself, "I'm too slow. I have to execute the 3 steps at the same time. Finally, I have to turn into a saber and use the saber to subdue the dragon. Otherwise, the success rate will not be high. The progress was not very smooth. However, it was still fine. Over the past half-month, Shao Qin had already figured out the general direction. All that was left was the problem of familiarity. Now, there were only 10 dragons, and they already had such a strong aura. In the future, the might of the 100 dragons, 1,000 dragons, and 10,000 dragons would be unimaginably strong. When Shao Qin looked up, the night sky was dark. There were no stars or moonlight. A suppressive feeling lingered in his heart, lingering. Shao Qin was not in a good mood due to some worries in his heart. He was no longer in the mood to continue cultivating. He carried the sword box on his back and gently pushed off the lake with his feet. Then he drifted away like a wild goose. Taking advantage of the night, he went to Yu Bingyun's room alone. Without knocking, Shao Qin just silently entered. Yu Bingyun, who was reading in the room, was startled. "Young Master Shao, what are you doing here so late at night?" The moment Yu Bingyun said that, she suddenly revealed a bashful expression. Sneaking in the middle of the night, a man and woman alone. It was like, with this thought, Yu Bingyun could not help blushing even more. She felt conflicted in her heart as she buried her head. It was rare for the holy daughter to show the bashfulness of a young girl. Unfortunately, Shao Qin was not in the mood to appreciate it. He said, "Miss Yu, sorry for disturbing you so late at night. Can you help me see how much time I have left?" This disappointment immediately appeared in Yu Bingyun's heart. So that was the case. However, she quickly covered it up. The meaning behind Shao Qin's words was unclear. Others might not understand, but Yu Bingyun instantly understood. The first person to discover Shao Qin's physiological lifespan was Yu Bingyun. Now that the 5 years were almost up, it would be best for Yu Bingyun to help check again. At the mention of this, Yu Bingyun immediately dispelled those petty thoughts, her expression turning grave. Then she placed her hand on Shao Qin's wrist and started to check it seriously. Shao Qin felt a cold aura penetrate deep into his bones, traveling everywhere in his body. When it finished traveling through his entire body, Yu Bingyun's expression turned somewhat unsightly. "Young Master Shao, I'm afraid you only have 1 month left. If you still cannot advance to Martial Emperor in 1 month, you will not be able to do so. If you still cannot advance to Martial Emperor in 1 month, the hidden injuries deep in your bones will erupt and your body will immediately decline. It will be very difficult for you to advance to Martial Emperor in this life." After thinking for a while, Yu Bingyun still said this, something that she was unwilling to say. 1 month. Shao Qin felt somewhat surprised. Originally, he estimated that he still had at least 2 months. Unexpectedly, he only had 1 month left. Fortunately, he was more cautious and asked Yu Bingyun in advance, "I suggest that young Master Shao leave the Haotian sect now and undergo your tribulation in peace. Furthermore, right now, all the major characters are attracted by the Haotian sect. This is the best time for you to undergo your tribulation." After thinking for a while, Yu Bingyun gave her suggestion. Shao Qin fell silent. Originally, he had intended to wait for the Haotian sect's crisis to pass before undergoing his tribulation in peace. However, right now, the Haotian sect's war seemed to be in a stalemate. It seemed like this would continue for a long time. "I can't wait any longer." Shao Qin closed his eyes, and a scene immediately appeared before him. The Emperor's bridge that spanned the chasm was already completed. The Emperor's door was in sight. Shao Qin was just 1 step away from crossing the chasm and summoning out the Emperor's door. Yu Bingyun continued, "As for the helpers of the oceanic world, you can hand the summoning token to Imochen. When necessary, younger sister Imochen can activate it. You should also know that after this war, your strength alone is not enough to change the entire situation." Shao Qin was a decisive person. After thinking for a while, he made up his mind. Shao Qin opened his eyes and determination flashed in them. He nodded and said, "It looks like that is the only way. I can only help the Haotian sect to this extent. I believe Big Brother Aang will understand me. I will speak to him tomorrow, right?" When Yu Bingyan heard that, she revealed a smile on her face. If Shao Qin stubbornly insisted on staying, she would not be able to dissuade Shao Qin. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just at this moment, the tea sets, porcelain, and other decorations in the room suddenly started shaking for no reason. Kassier, Kassier. Closely following that, all the tea sets shattered, turning into shards flying everywhere. Shao Chun released his aura slightly, and the shards flying at the two froze in the air. "Come, let's go out and take a look." The two's expressions changed slightly. After Shao Qin said that, he immediately rushed out with Yu Bingyan. Whoosh! Whoosh! The instant Shao Qin opened the door, he was immediately blinded by a red light. When they got used to this intense light, they were shocked to discover that it came from the sky above Meteor Trail City. Elder Ma had said that such flames would appear only when Meteor Trail City was in great danger. "Oh no, Shao Qin, what you worried about probably happened," Yu Bingyun said with a worried expression. Yu Bingyun said worriedly, "Coincidentally, just as Shao Qin made his decision, this happened." Elder Ma and Emo Qin rushed over at the same time. They said in a fluster, "Blue Dragon King, Meteor Trail City is in danger. We need to go and provide reinforcements." Chapter 1369. There was no need for Elder Ma to say anything. Naturally, Shao Qin knew that Meteor Trail City needed reinforcements. "All of you withdraw. There is no need to guard Maple Leaf Lake. Retreat as far as you can. It would be best if you can retreat to Haotian City." Shao Qin made a prompt decision, speaking calmly. "Why?" Elder Ma and the others looked at Shao Qin in confusion. They could not understand why Shao Qin did not want them to guard Maple Leaf Lake, but wanted them to withdraw at this moment. "Don't ask why. Elder Ma, lead the people and leave quickly." Shao Qin looked straight at Elder Ma, and an invisible might erupted from him. Shao Qin's tone was calm, but it exuded an irrefutable pressure. After looking at Elder Ma for 3 seconds, he helplessly made his choice. "The Blue Dragon King has ordered us to retreat quickly." Under Elder Ma's call, the disciples guarding Maple Leaf Lake retreated helplessly despite feeling dissatisfied and confused. The main reason was that Shao Qin's prestige was sufficient to convince these people. Even if the orders were strange, no one resisted. After a while, Maple Leaf Lake emptied, leaving only Yu Bingyan and Emo Qin. Shao Qin smiled bitterly. "I knew that the two of you would not leave. However, if you really encounter danger, please retreat immediately. Promise me, and I'll bring you to Meteor Trail City. If not, I won't." Yu Bingyan and Emo Qin exchanged glances, apparently discussing something. Soon, Emo Qin smiled softly and said, "Big Brother Shao Qin, don't worry. Elder Sister Bingyan and I are not stubborn people. We will not hold you back or cause you trouble. We will definitely take care of ourselves at crucial moments." "Don't say that. Don't ever think that way. Being able to get to know you is my greatest fortune. Shao Qin, no matter when or where, you will not be a burden to me. Shao Qin, forever." After Shao Qin said that, he stretched out his hand and beckoned. The formation spirit of Maple Leaf Lake broke out of the water and turned into a huge bird, shining with spiritual light. The three soared into the air one after another and landed on the back of the huge bird. The huge bird gave a sharp cry and quickly carried the three to Meteor Trail City. At the same time, the people at the node where Bai was located in the 9th layer of formations also panicked. They all stared dumbfoundedly at the fiery light that shot into the sky, making the night more piercing than day. "Young Miss, Meteor Trail City is going to provide reinforcements," Yuan Su said with a grave expression. Yuan Su said with a grave expression. He had not expected that the battle, which had been going very smoothly, would suddenly turn into a crisis for Meteor Trail City. Xiao Bai was no longer the same as before. She nodded and said, "You and Kong Yuan will accompany me. The rest of you guard here and prevent the deity Dao Yunyan's sneak attacks." After he finished speaking, he lightly waved the array plate in his hand. Strong winds gathered, and a ferocious tiger array spirit with wings appeared. The three rode the tiger and flew for Ji, for Qin, for spirit. Similar scenes were happening at the other nodes, and Juanxi, Shui Lingling, and the others also rushed to Meteor Trail City with the formation spirits in the shortest time possible. The hundreds of formation spirits gave off a flickering light as they tore through the air like beams of light. The light was like fire, as resplendent as the stars. The cries of all kinds of formation spirits resounded in the sky. Within a radius of 10 million kilometers, they all responded to each other. In that instant, the cries of the formation spirits rang out endlessly. In the inner hall of the Haotian sect, Ingzongtian and the other greater heavenly martial emperors looked at the sand table in front with extremely grave expressions. The sand table showed the situation of the battle. Every move could be seen clearly. Not only were the formations of the impregnable Meteor Trail City broken, but most of the vast city was also destroyed. The fiery light that shot into the sky was exceptionally piercing. The allied army of the deity Dao Yunyan's 4 races gathered in the dilapidated city, massacring the Haotian sect disciples. However, the main force was the deity race. Occasionally, beams of golden divine light descended in the sky, looking like stars. Those were the deities of the deity race. The deity race claimed to have 3,000 deities. Each deity was as strong as Emperor Wu. Furthermore, 1/3 of them came to Meteor Trail City. When 1,000 Emperor Wu level existences worked together, they immediately broke Meteor Trail City's formations. This instantly plunged Meteor Trail City into desperate straits. Everyone thought that the deity race would not use their trump cards in this battle. Unexpectedly, after the deity race numbed the crowd, they suddenly decided to make a move half a month later. This is truly unexpected. Now, even their retreat path is sealed. If we had made preparations to retreat in advance, we would not be as flustered as we are now. The Thunder and Lightning Palace's Vice Palace Master shook his head and sighed softly. The inner hall was filled with greater heavenly Emperor Wu, level deities, and there were quite a few of them. However, this force could not help Meteor Trail City, as they had their own opponents as well. The lesser heavenly Emperor Wu was in charge of defending, while the greater heavenly Emperor Wu was in charge of dealing with sneak attacks. They could be considered as 2 different battlefields, independent yet affecting each other. We have to think of a way to rescue Emperor Wu, who is trapped in Meteor Trail City. Otherwise, all of our formations will be lost. One of the monster race emperor analyzed calmly. On the side of the Haotian sect, most of the lesser heavenly Emperor Wu level deities were gathered in Meteor Trail City. Once he was surrounded, the 6th and 3rd formations would be useless without Emperor Wu to guard them. If all of the outer formations were lost, the Haotian city alone would not be able to unleash the full might of the Heaven and Earth Mountain River formation. Furthermore, with the lesser heavenly Emperor Wu being surrounded and killed, the situation would be even worse. The entire Haotian sect would be in grave danger. The emperors present shuddered at the thought of this, and were slightly flustered. This is so frustrating. If we head over, we will definitely be stopped by the 3 holy masters. We can only watch on helplessly. The god race is really insane. They even used their trump card. They want to exterminate us. Are they really not afraid that both sides will suffer? Damn it. If the Thunder King was still here, the celestial race would not be so arrogant. Brother Haotian, what should we do? You make the decision. All the greater heavenly Emperor Wu level deities turn their gazes towards the Supreme Being who could even win against the heaven-punishing corpse god. Ing Zongtian looked at the scenes on the sand table and fell silent. After a while he spoke, "Let's go. Whether or not we will be stopped by the three holy masters, we cannot just watch our brothers die. Everyone follow me and kill our way over." After saying that, Shao Chun looked at a fiend race Peacock King and said, "Brother Peacock, I'll have to trouble you to inform Brother Spirit Fox." The Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu and the Sovereign Martial Emperors who surpassed Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu could all sense the determination in Ing Zongtian's words. Actually, it was still far from the time for the final battle. If they fought now, the deity Dao Union would have complete control of the tempo. The situation was extremely disadvantageous. However, out of concern for the safety of his subordinates, Ing Zongtian decided to go all out. "We'll leave everything to Brother Haotian. This great me has long been sick of those traitors of the three holy masters." That's right. Before the Thunder King left, he clearly handed the martial god medallion to Brother Haotian. No matter how you look at it, Brother Haotian is the legitimate successor to the Bushin Palace. However, this group of people is not convinced. Let's go. Let's kill to our heart's content. Oftentimes, the attitude of the backbone could affect the morale of the entire team. If Ing Zongtian cowered at this moment or did it out of self-preservation, the morale of the group of people in Meteor Trail City would plummet significantly. Whoosh! In merely a moment, the many major characters in the inner palace tore space and rushed towards Meteor Trail City. In the distance, the many major characters in the inner palace tore space and rushed towards Meteor Trail City at lightning speed. Far behind, Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, and the three holy masters immediately sensed this fluctuation. Behind them, the Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu and the Sovereign Martial Emperors of the deity Dao Union also gathered. Emperor Forsaken smiled faintly and said calmly, "Indeed, it is as I expected." In the end, Ing Zongtian still could not hold back. "Holy lords, it will be up to you to block them." The Phoenix's Passion Palace's vermilion bird, Holy Lord, nodded and said, "That's easy. Since the deity sovereign even mobilized 3,000 deities, naturally we will not hold back either. With the three of us making a move, we guarantee that we will be able to block Ing Zongtian and not let the three primes make a move." Based on Shao Chen's tone, it sounded like he was going to use the trump card of the three holy masters, the holy beast totems. Emperor Forsaken nodded in satisfaction. Then he watched as the three holy masters led half of the Greater Heavenly Martial Emperors away. A ghost race Greater Heavenly Martial Emperor present pointed to the water screen in front at the image of Shao Qin and asked, "Deity Sovereign, what should we do with this variable, Shao Qin?" Emperor Forsaken smiled coldly and retorted, "How is he a variable? If I really want to kill him, I can squash him to death at any time. I just fear Ing Zongtian using the same method to kill the Divine Son. The only problem is the gathering token in this fellow's hand. However, it is fine. I naturally have a way to deal with that group of Emperor Wu and primes of the oceanic world." Shao Chen's expression was calm, as if victory was in his grasp. This gave everyone a strong sense of confidence. The sudden attack of more than 1,000 deity race emperor Wu had caused most of Meteor Trail City to fall. It seemed like the true decisive battle would start early because of this sudden attack. Clouds started to rise, signaling the arrival of a storm. Chapter 1370. The ant that Emperor Forsaken said could be easily squashed to death was currently riding the huge bird formation Spirit Bird, heading for Meteor Trail City with an indomitable will. "Elder brother Shao Qin, promise us to hold back a little. You cannot unleash too much power. Please, do not undergo your tribulation here," Emo Qin pleaded as she grabbed the corner of Shao Chen's clothes from behind. Yu Bingyan had already told Emo Qin about Shao Chen's physical condition. These words were the two's shared thoughts. Right now, the Haotian province had already become the center of the entire Kunlun realm storm. The risk of undergoing a tribulation here was easy to imagine. Young Master Shao, how about you give the convening token to younger sister Mo Chin and leave alone? Yu Bingyin suggested. Shao Chen did not know how to answer. After some thought, he said, "Let's go over and take a look first." Originally, Shao Chen planned to leave the next day. However, with such a situation happening, how could he leave? Boom! Just at this moment, a deafening sound came from an extremely distant place. Along with the voice, a terrifying spatial tremor appeared in the three's field of vision. The space in the distance moved like ripples on water, moving closer and closer as they surged over. The spatial tremor spread so fast that no one could resist it at all. The ripples quickly passed through. Even the towering flame in the sky above Meteor Trail City trembled intensely, looking like it would scatter. Intense pain assaulted them, and blood leaked out of the three's lips. Their complexions paled. Fortunately, this spatial tremor lasted only for an instant. Furthermore, it was just some remnant shock waves. The three only suffered some internal injuries and were fine. What's going on? The epicenter of the spatial ripples does not seem to be from Meteor Trail City. Clearly, it was not from Meteor Trail City. If the spatial ripples were so close, even if they did not die, they would be severely injured. Shao Chen stopped and opened the heavenly eye on his forehead. His vision immediately extended infinitely. 50,000 kilometers, 500,000 kilometers, all the way until it reached 5 million kilometers. Everywhere Shao Chen's vision passed, he could see the cities, pavilions, mountains, rivers, plants, insects, and ants. The first to bear the brunt of the attack was Meteor Trail City, which was 50,000 kilometers away. The city walls were in ruins, and most of the buildings in the city were destroyed. A huge golden deity race, warship, circled high in the sky. Di Wuk stood at the bow of the warship, together with the other deity Dao Union members. He appeared very spirited, looking like he was in charge of everything. Rays of light would occasionally shine down from the giant warship, each ray containing a slight monarch might. That emperor's might wasn't pure, mixed with a lot of faith power, easily distinguishable. However, there were many of them. Light flickered about, and there were no less than 1,000 of them. When the emperor's might linked together, it was exceptionally frightening. More than 1,000 gods surrounded the sky-reaching flames and kept attacking. It seemed like the remaining martial emperors of Meteor Trail City and the other cultivators were all hiding in the towering flames, preparing to defend themselves. Seeing this, Shao Chen already knew why Meteor Trail City had been breached. 1/3 of the god races, 3,000 gods, had come. However, this was not the focus of Shao Chen's attention. His gaze continued to extend. Finally, he saw a startling battle in the sky outside Haotian City in the distance. The deity Dao Union and the Haotian sect's sovereign martial emperors, Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu, and the primes were all engaged in battle. Shao Chen's heart sank. The deity Dao Union had expected this long ago. The moment Big Brother Ying's group left the city, they were blocked. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was controlling the formation outside the city, this group of martial emperors directly tore space and blocked the group. Closing his heavenly eye, Shao Chen said sullenly, "That is a fluctuation from Haotian City. The sect masters group is blocked by the deity Dao Union's martial emperors. They probably won't be able to come." Upon hearing that, Mo Chen's expression changed slightly. Should we activate the convening token? It seemed like the decisive battle was about to start in advance. Shao Chen shook his head and said there's no need. None of the deity Dao Union's primes appeared. Perhaps they are just waiting for me to shatter the convening token. Let's speed up and rush over. As long as the Vice Sect Master and the others can retreat safely and stabilize the 6 formations behind, it will be fine. The situation looked extremely dangerous. However, the crux actually lay in the remaining Emperor Wu of Meteor Trail City, who was surrounded by the deity Dao Union. After a while, Meteor Trail City appeared before them. Before they entered the city, 3 beams of light headed for where Xiao Chen was like meteors. "Be careful," Xiao Chen said softly. Then he stopped and closed his eyes, quietly waiting for the 3 deity races, so-called deities, to arrive. From here, they could already feel the temperature of the flames in Meteor Trail City. The miserable state of Meteor Trail City was a startling sight. There was also the huge deity race warship and the surging emperor's might it gave off, which was very startling. Mo Chen and Yu Bingyan felt somewhat nervous, their palms sweating slightly. The situation in Meteor Trail City was much more severe than they had imagined. "Blue Dragon King Xiao Qin, my clan's divine son, would like to invite you on board to reminisce." The 3 deity races' deities gave off piercing golden light as they approached and spoke at the same time. Xiao Qin opened his eyes. His eyes looked very ordinary. However, the instant he opened his eyes, the light on the 3 deity races' deities dimmed. The 3 deity races' deities revealed extremely horrified expressions, feeling incredibly flustered. Indeed, someone who relied on faith to advance to martial emperor can only be called a false Emperor Wu. You are just some foolish mortals. To think that you dare to call yourselves deities, Xiao Qin said coldly, completely ignoring the 3's words. Then he threw both palms, instantly executing 1,000-year death and 1,000-year flame. The 2 moons clashed with each other, hot-bloodedness and grief intertwining. This vividly displayed Xiao Chen's current emotions. This was Xiao Chen's strongest palm technique. When executed together with pure primordial energy, the brilliant emperors might press down on the 3 false Emperor Wus. They could only brace themselves and resist with all their might. Boom! The 3 deity race false Emperor Wus sustained severe injuries. Blood flowed continuously from their mouths as they fled in panic, frightened out of their wits. "Since you are here, there is no need to leave." Xiao Chen's figure flashed, moving like a fish in water. Thousands of changes occurred, flashing 3 times in a row. Every time he flashed, he sent out a palm saber. When he returned to the huge bird formation spirit, the 3 fleeing deity race false emperors had no corpses left, only a speck of divine light shooting into the sky. Rumor had it that as long as the deity race's deity statues still existed, they would have another chance to revive. One had to destroy the last strand of divine light before they could kill them completely. Whether the rumor was true or not, Xiao Qin could not be bothered to continue attacking. He still had more important things to do. Mo Qin felt it was strange. She asked, "These deity race cultivators clearly have emperor's might. Why are they so weak?" Xiao Chan explained, "They relied on faith to advance to martial emperor and did not undergo the great tribulation of wind and fire. Naturally, they cannot compare to the true Emperor Wus. However, having too many of them is problematic. I would not be a match for even 100. Xiao Chen, the reinforcements from the other nodes seem to be under attack. I know. Right now, the most important thing is to gather these people together and see if we can break through the deity race's blockade, carving out a path for the people inside. On the huge deity race warship, Divine Son, that Blue Dragon King, did not know how to appreciate kindness. He killed the 3 deity race cultivators who sent the message, someone reported quickly. This Blue Dragon King is really too much. The Divine Son gave him face, but he does not appreciate it. He is really bold. Why doesn't he look at his current situation? On the warship's bow, the deity Dao Union's various races Emperor Wu crowded around Diwuk, fighting to be the first to speak. Diwuk snorted coldly and said, "How stubborn. Now that I invited you, you are not coming. Later, I will make you kneel before me." Chapter 1371. Oh no, the huge deity race warship is turning around. The expression of one of the node managers at Meteor Trail City's gates changed as he pointed into the distance. Everyone turned their heads and saw that all the light on the god race's giant warship had converged and gathered together. The warship slowly turned around, pointing at the various node managers of Meteor Trail City. A moment later, everyone sensed a dangerous aura enveloping them. Suddenly, pillars of light shot out of the huge deity race warship. Each pillar of light had a white-haired deity race cultivator standing in it. A total of 1,000 pillars of light surrounded the divine daughter, Tianyushi, like stars surrounding the moon. Tianyu, she held the divine halberd in her hand, looking like a goddess. She formed hand seals with one hand and continuously absorbed the surrounding divine energy. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. He felt that something was wrong. Di Wuk probably let them gather together on purpose. Xiao Chen had been waiting for this moment, wanting to use the might of the formation to kill them all in one fell swoop. This place was about 50 kilometers away from the huge deity race warship. For this formation to be able to maintain its might without scattering even after such a long distance, it was probably extraordinary. That is the deity race's world, destroying divine tribulation. Its might is extremely horrifying. I once saw it in the astral battlefield. This should be a simplified version. Its might is somewhat weaker, but it is equal to the peak strike of the sixth heaven Emperor Wu. Shui Lingling said somewhat anxiously with a grave expression. No matter who was here, not even Xiao Chen, they could not withstand the peak strike of the sixth heaven Emperor Wu. If it really landed, even if everyone here did not die, they would be severely injured. Let's go. Shui Lingling shook her head and said, We cannot leave. It has already locked onto us. No matter where we go, the world, destroying divine tribulation, will descend. Shui Lingling had seen this world, destroying divine tribulation, kill dozens of Demon Emperor Wu at the same time in the astral battlefield. It was extremely horrifying. In that case, let's end it early, Xiao Qin said indifferently. Then he looked at the huge deity race warship in the distance and said, The plan will not change. You all go. Leave this huge deity race warship to me. Whoosh! After saying that, Xiao Qin pushed off the ground and shot off like an arrow. He tore through the sky and headed for the huge deity race warship. Xiao Qin! This sudden action caused Mo Qin and the other girls to cry out in a daze. Come, follow me. As Njuanqi watched Xiao Qin fly towards the huge deity race warship alone, his heart felt somewhat heavy. However, at this moment he had to race against time. Otherwise, the opportunity created by Xiao Chen would be sacrificed in vain. That wouldn't be worth it. On the bow of the deity race's warship, Di Wuk's group watched the fleeing people in high spirits. Run? Where can you run to? You're enveloped by the divine might. No matter where you run, you'll have to accept the baptism of the divine tribulation. Divine Son, Blue Dragon King Xiao Qin is flying towards us. Someone exclaimed in shock as he pointed at the white figure in the air. The expressions of the people on the warship changed at the same time as they quickly looked in the direction that Xiao Qin was rushing in. Should we send someone to stop him? A ghost race martial emperor asked with a frown. Xiao Hoju said, He probably wants to rely on his own strength to break the world exterminating divine tribulation. No matter what, it is better to stop him. A brilliant light flashed in Di Wuk's eyes. He laughed loudly and said, No one move. Let him come. Don't scatter the might of the world exterminating divine tribulation. Focus it all on Xiao Qin. What a fool. You came at the right time. With so many people sharing the world exterminating divine tribulation, it will not hurt you. However, since you are seeking death by charging over alone, don't blame me for being impolite. Murderous intent surged in Di Wuk's eyes. He felt somewhat excited in his heart. This was a rare opportunity. If Xiao Chen got struck by the world exterminating divine tribulation, there would only be one result. Not even dregs would be left. When the crowd heard what Di Wuk said, they no longer cared. Compared to the huge deity race worship that was as huge as a mountain, the deity race worship was much smaller. Compared to the massive deity race worship, Shao Qin was as insignificant as an ant. Trying to shake the deity race worship by himself was simply a pipe dream. Di Wuk pointed at Shao Qin and smiled in satisfaction. What do you mean by not seeking death? This is seeking death. At the same time, Shao Qin waved his hand and said, Get ready. If this divine tribulation does not kill him, attack together. We must bury him here today. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of Xing Ju and Xie Zishuan, the descendants of the two primes. As the few spoke, the divine halberdian Tianyu, Shi's hand above the deity race, worship glowed increasingly resplendent. For a time, thunderclouds gathered above his head, and the shadow of a deity was faintly discernible between the thunderclouds in the sky. A brilliant divine might descended, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Tianyu, Shi's long hair fluttered wildly as his aura soared. Facing the approaching Shao Qin, Tianyu, Shi narrowed his eyes and brandished the divine halberd. The world-exterminating divine tribulation looked like it was about to descend. On the warship's bow, Di Wuk's group immediately felt incredibly nervous and expectant. However, just at this moment, the seemingly insignificant Shao Qin, who was 10 kilometers away, suddenly soared into the air. All of a sudden, it expanded out of nowhere. Before the group of people could react to what was going on, a shadow loomed over Daoist Dao's head. When Daoist Dao raised his head, it was an enormous hand. What's going on? The 1,000-odd people on the deck all panicked, not understanding what was going on. Whoosh! In the next moment, that colossal hand turned into a palm saber and chopped down from the sky. Without any resistance, this palm strike chopped off the entire warship's bow. The huge mountain looked like it had been chopped off by someone. A loud rumble rang out, accompanied by countless people's panicked, miserable screams. Saber chi immediately spread out, and the scene turned chaotic. Countless people tumbled in the air. Some of the deity Dao Union cultivators who happened to be struck by the palm saber ended up in an even more miserable state. They were chopped into meat paste on the spot, unable to even make a sound. The remaining huge deity race, worship, shook endlessly. The formations in it shattered, giving off loud noises as it swelled up. The 1,000-odd pillars of light that extended out instantly shattered. Tianyu Shi, who was about to bring out the world-exterminating divine tribulation, was the most miserable. His formations broke, and the divine tribulation rebounded, blasting him into the air and causing him to vomit blood. The divine halberd fell from his hand, and his complexion paled. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. In the next moment, an even greater problem arrived. A colossal foot kicked out from the air. Most of the remaining huge deity race worship immediately exploded, kicking up dust and debris into the air. The deity Dao Union cultivators on the warship panicked and jumped off the warship. Dust filled the sky, and explosions rang out endlessly. All sorts of debris and the corpses of cultivators flew everywhere, spreading for more than 50 kilometers. All sorts of flames ignited each other, looking incredibly dazzling. The intense explosions startled the group of people charging towards the surging pillar of flame. When they turned their heads and saw the scene of the huge deity race worship exploding, they were all stunned. This was done by the Blue Dragon King. Everyone opened their mouths wide, their eyes filled with disbelief. Shao Qin said that he could do it, and indeed he did it. And Juanqi rejoiced in his heart. He laughed loudly and said, "What a great Shao Qin! Indeed, he did it. Everyone, let's not lag behind. Let's open a path for the Vice Sect Master and the others." After a momentary daze, everyone's morale soared, their hot-bloodedness surging. Only Mo Chen and Yu Bingyan looked at each other in silence, feeling bitter in their hearts. Dermic World did not last for long. 3 seconds later, Shao Chun recovered his human form. As he stood high in the clouds, he looked at the deity Dao Union's people, who were in a mess. He did not show much emotion on his face. The instant Shao Chun executed Dermic World, he vaguely heard the intense howling of wind and fire. He even saw illusions of wind and fire attacking him. This was very dangerous. With just one more step, the great tribulation of wind and fire would descend from the sky. However, at this moment, Shao Chun could not care too much. More than 100 minor heavenly emperor Wu of the Haotian sect were still trapped in the surging pillar of flame. He could not just leave them to die. Have you found the divine daughter? Quickly, find the divine daughter. Di Wuk shouted amid the thick smoke and dust. When he was sent flying by Shao Chen's palm saber strike, he happened to see the divine daughter suffering from the rebound of the lightning tribulation. When he landed, he happened to see the divine daughter suffering the rebound of the lightning tribulation, vomiting blood and flying back. However, the current situation was chaotic. Shao Chen's saber intent, the shock waves of the divine might ritual array, an explosion of the huge warship all mixed together. Everyone could not deal with them in time. Chapter 1372. There were not many warships at the back of the deity Dao Union's fleet, but all of them were Emperor-grade warships. This was the deity Dao Union's true main force, more than 30 Emperor-grade warships. Under normal circumstances, no race faction could gather so many Emperor-grade warships. Only when the Ghost Race, the Corpse Race, the Deity Race, and the 3 Holy Masters worked together would they be able to do so. Compared to the fleet of warships at the front, this was the true force of the deity Dao Union's attack on the Haotian sect. Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Danyue Ghost Emperor were also gathered on the flagship in the middle. At this moment, a water screen appeared in front of the 3 primes on the flagship in the center. The image in the water screen stopped at the scene of Shao Chun executing Dermic World and chopping down the huge warship with one hand saber strike. The 3 primes appeared somewhat shocked, especially Emperor Forsaken. Most of the people on that huge deity race warship were deity race cultivators. When the huge warship was destroyed, the deity race suffered the greatest losses. Even the divine daughter's fate was unknown. However, Emperor Forsaken did not care about this. The deity race was a large clan and did not care about an emperor-grade warship. They could even afford to lose a divine daughter, as long as it was not the divine son. What Emperor Forsaken cared about was this small car that suddenly appeared and disrupted his plans. The previously inactive ant seemed to have turned into a variable. This person seemed to be ending this decisive battle that was about to start in advance. As long as Shao Chun rescued the Haotian sect's Emperor Wu from the surging pillar of fire, there would be no need for this decisive battle. The development of the situation seemed to be heading in this direction. He seems to be executing a major magic skill. Furthermore, he is already very familiar with it. Where did he get this magic skill from? Even some of the Penglai Seas Dao venerates do not have such a magic skill, the Danyue Ghost Emperor said softly with a frown. As primes, they were very knowledgeable. Naturally, they could make out Shao Chen's magic skill with one glance. As primes, they were very knowledgeable. Naturally, they could tell what Shao Chen's magic skill was with one glance. Furthermore, these 3 supremes were friends with the Dao masters of the Penglai Sea and had seen many divine powers. From their point of view, Shao Chen's divine sense was already very powerful, even more powerful than the great divine sense of those Dao masters. In reality, it was not just slightly stronger. As a Buddha, the Mahesvara Buddha had been a peak major character during the Immortal epoch. Although Shao Chun was being humbled, the major magic skill that he passed on to Shao Chen was a peak magic skill, even during the Immortal epoch. The immortal cultivators of the Penglai Sea only managed to gain some understanding of immortal cultivation after the Immortal epoch shattered. In the end, there wasn't a complete inheritance. How could it compare to a genuine top-notch divine ability by relying on the remnant copies of the predecessors and their own supplementation? The heaven-punishing corpse god's eyes flashed. That's not the point. The point is, how can this guy cultivate both immortal and martial arts? Although there were not many immortal cultivators in the Kunlun realm, there were still some. However, no one had ever heard of cultivating immortal Tao and martial Tao at the same time. This was a taboo. Those who tried would undoubtedly die. Emperor Forsaken said indifferently, I know a little about this. When the Dong Yue Ghost Emperor and Emperor Forsaken heard that, they were stunned. Then, they immediately looked at Emperor Forsaken. Emperor Forsaken muttered, I do not know much. If we want to truly unravel this mystery, we still have to go to the savage battlefield's Blue Dragon Palace and investigate it. The moment Emperor Forsaken said that, the two primes stopped asking. It seemed like the Blue Dragon Palace had left behind some bad memories for the two primes. Let's not talk about this anymore. Qi-Tian, just look at it. What should we do now? If there are no surprises, he should be able to come out of the group of people in the surging pillar of flame. The Dong Yue Ghost Emperor brought the topic back to the battlefield before them. The heaven-punishing corpse god said, It looks like we still have to end things without any problems. We have to follow the old plan and slowly grind him down. Emperor Forsaken remained silent. After a while, he said, There is no turning back. If we give up halfway this time, it will have a negative impact on the deity Tao Union's luck. Now, even if we have to pay a higher price, we have to fight even if we do not want to. Emperor Forsaken's words revealed a determination to not give up. The heaven-punishing corpse god smiled and said, That is exactly what I was thinking. I said from the start that we should give it a good beating and directly flatten the Haotian sect. However, you all did not listen. The Dong Yue Ghost Emperor thought more and felt somewhat worried. However, it was as Emperor Forsaken said, there was no turning back. Let's fight then. I'll go and block the Fox King. Back in Haotian City, Xiao Chen did not know that the powerhouses of the deity Tao Union were already determined to fight to the end. Whether he could save the many Emperor Wu in the surging pillar of flame or not, this battle was unavoidable. Xiao Chen did not overthink. While the cultivators on the huge deity race warship were in chaos, unable to take care of themselves, executing the fish dragon step, Xiao Chen turned into a dragon and flew towards Anjuanqi's group. Anjuanqi's group was already fighting with the many deities surrounding the surging pillar of flame. Their morale was high, and they wanted to open a path. However, there were simply too many deity race deities. It was not possible to open a path quickly. The longer the battle dragged on, the more serious the casualties would be. Xiao Chen observed for a while. The most troublesome one blocking Anjuanqi's group was the deity race's third heaven Emperor Wu. The other deities were still manageable. Only the fake Emperor Wu could not block the combined attacks of this group of deity race's third heaven Emperor Wu. When the fighting spirit of this group of people was completely stimulated, they gathered together and became like an unstoppable flood. Anjuanqi, Shui Lingling, and Bai stood at the very front of this flood. However, the deity race's third heaven Emperor Wu blocked their way. If this dragged on for a while, reinforcements from other places would arrive. After they were surrounded, they would be surrounded and surrounded. Xiao Chen could not care so much anymore. He narrowed his eyes and locked on to that deity race Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered without any wind. As it fluttered, it gave off a graceful saber hum in the surroundings. Flawless saber technique, void-breaking stance. The light disappeared for 1 kilometer around him. Xiao Chen used his body as a saber, controlling the air with the saber as he chopped down at that deity race Emperor Wu. In the next moment, an incredibly resplendent saber light suddenly appeared before deity race Emperor Wu, who was locked in an intense battle with Anjuanqi's group. This saber light appeared very suddenly, as if it had appeared out of nowhere. There was no trace of it at all. Whoosh! Amid the resplendent saber light, a light that was even brighter and more piercing than this saber light shot out. That light was astonishingly fast. This deity race Emperor Wu vaguely seemed to hear the sound of a treasured saber being unsheathed. Kung Chong! The saber struck deity race Emperor Wu's chest. Cracks appeared in his emperor's body, and he went flying back. Big brother Shao Qin! The Blue Dragon King is back. Immediately, everyone's morale soared. No one expected Shao Qin to deal with the huge deity race worship so quickly and rush back. Given that every second mattered, Shao Qin could not say much. The huge deity race worship will not be able to care about us for now. I'll lead everyone out first. With Shao Qin leading the way, this flood attacked even more ferociously. In merely 15 minutes, a hole appeared in the impenetrable encirclement. When Shao Qin arrived before the surging pillar of flame, he waved his hand, and everyone immediately stopped. What's wrong? And Juanqi, who was at the side, asked. Shao Qin pointed to the front and said, They sense this opening and are already rushing over. Boom! Right after Shao Qin spoke, the flaming wall in front exploded. Fang Baiyu's group walked out in a sorry state. This group of several hundred people was all injured. Their complexions were pale and fatigued. Several of them were covered in wounds and extremely weak. They did not have the air of Emperor Wu at all. Instead, they looked like a group of refugees at the end of their rope. Just this scene alone showed how much damage this group suffered from the sudden attack of 1,000 respected deities. What kind of hardship did they experience in breaking out of the encirclement? If Shao Qin and the others had not come, they would have been surrounded and killed. Although the surging pillar of flame could block some attacks, the deity race's mental energy martial techniques were not. How come it's you? Did the sect master and the others not come? When Fang Baiyu and the other 2 martial emperors saw Shao Qin waiting for them, they revealed extremely shocked expressions. They had not expected that the one who opened a gap for them would be the previously dissatisfied Shao Qin. Shao Qin, you are right. This time we were wrong. The 3 thought back to when Shao Qin said that they should be prepared to retreat at any time. Now that they saw Shao Qin again, the 3 felt somewhat guilty. Chapter 1373. Little brother Shao Qin, I really misunderstood you last time. The vice sect master, Fang Baiyu, stepped forward, feeling deeply ashamed. Shao Qin had a pure heart, speaking his mind bluntly. However, because Fang Baiyu felt uncomfortable, he misunderstood Shao Qin instead, not even giving him a chance to speak. However, now that a great disaster was upon them, and Shao Qin was the first to lead a team to save them, he did not care about the grievances he suffered earlier. Vice Sect Master, you are too serious. The most important thing now is to retreat. Shao Qin smiled. He did not care about the earlier matter in the first place. Why would he care about it now? The fiend race greater heavenly martial emperor, Jiang Chuan, said, Little brother Shao Qin, come with us. As long as our group retreats to the 6th layer of formations, the situation of the battle will calm down. As long as they activated the 6th layer of formations, they would be prepared and defend with all their might. The deity Dao Union would not be able to break through quickly. This was because the closer they got to Haoqian City, the stronger the defenses of the formations would be. Shao Qin shook his head and said, I'm afraid I can't go with you. Someone has to stay behind and bring up the rear. Otherwise, if the deity Dao Union continues to chase us, we will suffer heavy casualties. Fang Baiyu and the other 2 greater heavenly martial emperors turned their heads to look. The hundreds of respected deities surrounding the surging pillar of fire were slowly gathering. Farther away, Di Wuk was currently sorting out the chaotic situation on the huge deity race worship. Once the 2 sides gathered, they would be a huge force. If they truly gave chase, at least half of the 200-odd people here would not be able to return. The expressions of surviving a calamity on the 3's faces faded. They knew that this was just the beginning. Whether they could escape this group of respected deities as well as the pursuit of Diwuk and the other deity Dao Union experts, was still unknown. Shao Qin was right. Someone did need to bring up the rear. However, this person could not be Shao Qin. Fang Baiyu and the other two exchanged glances and immediately understood each other's intentions. Fang Baiyu said, "That's right. There is indeed a need to bring up the rear. However, the three of us will be responsible for bringing up the rear. Shao Qin, you will be responsible for bringing them to the rear." Shao Qin still shook his head and said softly, "That won't do. Diwuk's killing intent towards me has reached the pinnacle. Even if you want to stop him, he won't fight you. If I bring them along, I'll be harming them instead." "What did you do?" Emo Qin asked curiously. Shao Qin recalled the scene of the divine daughter suffering the backlash of the lightning tribulation. He said softly, "Perhaps I was careless and killed the divine daughter, Tianyushi." Although his words were light, the ripples it created were no less than a depth charge. Ah! Everyone who heard this was startled. Who in the Kunlun realm did not know about the relationship between Diwuk and Tianyushi? If Shao Qin really killed Tianyushi, Diwuk would definitely go crazy. Fang Baiyu and the other two greater heavenly martial emperors did not know what to say, unable to rebut. Shao Qin said softly, "All of you, let's go. I was planning to bring up the rear in the first place. Nothing deviated from my plan." However, his plan had deviated slightly. He had not thought of killing the divine daughter. However, that did not matter. Diwuk wanted to compete with him for the position of luck. The two sides were already like fire and water, mortal enemies. In the heavenly starry ocean, the divine daughter had provoked the 5 poison sex elders to kill Shao Qin. Today, she wanted to use the world-exterminating lightning tribulation to kill Shao Qin. Even if Tianyushi really died, Shao Qin's mental state would not change much. Everyone served their own masters and followed their fates. On the path of cultivation, life and death were the most common thing. At this moment, every second mattered. The earlier they left, the greater their chances of survival. Naturally, Fang Baiyu understood this principle. He shook his head helplessly and said, "Come back alive. This time, the three of us owe you too much." Without saying anything more, the group quickly left, heading for Haotian City at lightning speed. Emo Chen, Yu Bingyin, and the other girls turned their heads back 3 times with every step, watching Shao Chen's lone figure. They wanted to stay several times, but they knew Shao Chen's temper. If they stayed, Shao Chen would definitely persuade them to leave. At this moment, the love between men and women seemed somewhat extravagant. They could only pray in their hearts that Shao Chen could return safely. Suddenly, yellow sand filled the air in front. Beams of divine light soared into the clouds amid the dense yellow sand, turning into a surging battle hunger that spread in the sky. It turned into a torrential battle while it filled the sky, manifesting many mysterious phenomena that surged along with the clouds. When Shao Chen looked up, the many mysterious phenomena materialized the most ancient war banners of the deity race. The war banners contained glory, faith, and boundless killing intent. When Shao Chen saw the scene, he understood. He finally understood why Meteor Trail City lost so quickly. One or a few gods on their own wouldn't be much of a threat. But when they regrouped and combined together, however, when they merged, the power that they could erupt with would be something that even sovereign martial emperors would not dare to clash with. The deities were very strong. However, Shao Qin did not fear them. Shao Qin slowly stretched out his right hand, and a Buddhist lamp slowly appeared in his palm. A saraira hovered above the Buddhist lamp. The saraira gave off a bright light, and the image of the Mahasvara Buddha chanted scriptures amid the light. With the support of this saraira, the wondrous effects of the Buddhist lamp immediately magnified significantly. The heavenly snow divine flame nourished in it had already advanced from rank 1 to rank 2, reaching a level where it could kill a peak 6th heaven martial emperor, Emperor Wu. Shao Chen opened his mouth and sucked in the heavenly snow divine flame, sending it to the heart of an emperor in his dantian. After that, he put away the Buddhist lamp and saraira. Then he took out a flask of wine and sat down cross-legged. As he looked at the flying yellow sand in front, he started drinking alone. Amid the flying yellow sand, Shao Chen's vision passed through the countless deity race deities and arrived at the very center. Di Wuk carried the faintly discernible Tianyushi, who was on the verge of death. His face filled with grief and self-blame. Faint tears flickered in his eyes. The guilt in Di Wuk's heart could not be described with words. Earlier, he had acted on his own. Earlier, he had been stubborn and did not want to let go of this rare opportunity to kill Shao Chen. However, he was extremely smart and should have thought of it long ago. Since Shao Chen charged over, he naturally had a trump card. He could only blame himself for being overconfident. There were many experts on the deity race's worship, so he did not fear that Shao Chen could do anything. However, when Shao Chen truly revealed his trump card, everything was over. Before Shao Chen, who used his dermic incarnation to execute a martial technique, the huge deity race worship crumbled at the first blow. The divine might formation broke, and the lightning tribulation rebounded. The world-exterminating lightning tribulation, which should have struck Shao Chen, rebounded and injured Tianyushi. Wuk, don't cry. You are the divine son. In the future, you will be the bearer of the luck of the entire Kunlun realm. How can you cry? Wuk, don't cry. You are the deity son. In the future, you will be the Kunlun realm's luck son. How can you cry? Tianyu, she looked at Di Wuk's face and stretched out her hand as if she wanted to wipe away the tears in Di Wuk's eyes, not letting them fall. She stretched out a hand towards Di Wuk's face as if she wanted to wipe away the tears in his eyes, not letting them fall. However, when Tianyu she extended her hand halfway, she suddenly fell back down weakly, like a flower withering and losing its color. Di Wuk's heart sank. He quickly pulled Tianyushi's hand and brought it to his face. He cried out hoarsely, I won't cry. I won't cry. Tianyushi, wake up. Wake up. The surroundings fell silent. No one spoke. Everyone could sense the sorrow and pain in Di Wuk's words. Tianyushi, look at me. I'm not crying. I'm not crying. However, that peerlessly pure and holy face had already lost all signs of life. No matter how much Di Wuk screamed, he could not wake up. The world-exterminating lightning tribulation was a consummate technique that could instantly kill a greater heavenly Emperor Wu. How could Tianyu she endure the might of the rebound? Di Wuk's eyes were misty, and tears were already streaming down his face. However, he kept shouting, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. Shao Chen, I, Di Wuk, will never be able to live under the same sky as you. If I don't kill you, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart. Shao Chen, who was drinking wine, heard a hoarse roar filled with killing intent and pain coming from the yellow sand filling the air. Then the sky and earth shook, and the sounds of killing shook the heavens. Heavy footsteps rang out from the yellow sand. Step by step, the rumbling sound got closer to Shao Chen. Shao Chen's expression changed slightly as he guessed something. Tianyu, she was probably really dead. He stood up and poured the half-empty bottle of wine on the ground. Shao Chen muttered, You protected him for life. This promise is worth it. Although our paths are different, I'll still give you half a bottle of wine. Have a safe journey. Pa. Shao Chen let go, and the bottle made of fine jade shattered all over the ground. It was like the goddess Tianyu she had passed away. Chapter 1374. As the yellow sand approached, the war banners formed by the surging mysterious phenomena in the sky fluttered noisily in the face of the strong wind. The wind and sand made it hard to open one's eyes. When the momentum arrived, it was like a ferocious beast opening its huge maw, wanting to swallow up Shao Chen in one gulp. Shao Chen, who was standing upright, faced the boundless yellow sand. He looked incredibly faint, even more wobbly than a small boat in the eye of the storm. It looked like in the next moment, the formation of hundreds of deities would blow him away. Dang! A dull sound rang out, and the bronze sword box on Xiao Chen's back landed by Xiao Chen's feet. Xiao Chen held the sword box with one hand, and a mysterious phenomenon materialized behind him. Winds blew, clouds churned, lightning flashed, thunder roared, and berserk dragons roared. Finally, all the mysterious phenomena turned into a saber that pierced through the sky. As the dull sound of the sword box reverberated endlessly, it burst out with a dazzling saber light and a saber wind. As the saber light flew over, it drove a boundless aura and blew away all the yellow sand in front of Shaoqin. This aura revealed the 800-odd deities, as well as Diwuk and the others. The 800-odd deities gave off a bright light that connected with each other. If one looked carefully, one would discover that the frequency at which these deities flickered was exactly the same. It was like they had already merged into one. As the light flickered, the 800-odd deity race wore banners in the sky, fluttered endlessly, flickering with golden light. Diwuk stood behind these 800-odd deities with a cold expression. Together with Xiao Hoju, Xie Zishuan, Xing Ju, and the other deity Dao Yunyan's Emperor Wu, they looked at Xiao Chun coldly, their eyes devoid of any emotion. Xiao Qin, you are really bold. To think that you dare to bring up the rear alone. However, this is good as well. It saves me the trouble of searching for you. After I kill you, I will kill everyone you care about one by one. Diwuk said coldly and aloof as he shook his head at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin raised his head and looked at the 800 gods. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Let's see if you have what it takes to kill me. If you really wanted to run, I wouldn't have been able to kill you. But since you overestimated yourself and came to cover our retreat, it would be hard for me not to kill you. Attack!" Diwuk's words were extremely cold. The 800 gods immediately took action. They soared into the sky and prepared to gather together. With a combined attack, they killed Xiao Qin directly. Back then, this attack of theirs had directly broken through the defensive array formation of Meteor Trail City. Xiao Ju and the others looked at Xiao Chun with mixed feelings. His courage was praiseworthy. He blocked them single-handedly, giving Fong Baiyu's group a chance at survival. He had also prevented the great, decisive battle from breaking out prematurely. However, he had placed himself in a desperate situation. If it were them, no one would have had the courage to do so. In their eyes, Xiao Chun was already a dead man. Even if he could block the combined attack of these 800 gods, he would not be able to dodge. If their group followed up, Diwuk would not even need to make a move. He could just watch Xiao Qin die in front of him. If Xiao Qin had not killed Tian Yushi, Diwuk would not have lost his rationality and used 800 gods to deal with Xiao Qin alone. Given Xiao Qin's strength, he could move about freely with the deities scattered. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in this world. Xiao Qin would die today. Whoosh! The temperature suddenly plummeted, and snowflakes drifted down from the sky. What's going on? Diwuk was the first to feel that something was wrong. He stretched out his hand, and a snowflake melted in his hand. However, it did not scatter. After it melted, it turned into a burning flame. Diwuk's expression changed slightly as he quickly looked up. He saw Xiao Chen's head of white hair fluttering in the wind. His entire body seemed to be bathed in a layer of frost. Xiao Chen raised his right hand and gently pushed forward. A flash of cold light appeared in his palm, looking like pale white lightning. It dazzled everyone. In the next moment, the 800 deities that were about to gather were covered in a strange white flame. Not only was the flame bone-chilling, but it also continuously swallowed the primordial energy in these deities, causing their strength to plummet. Bang! The many deities fell from the sky, in so much pain that they wished they were dead. This sudden change in the situation caused the divine light on the deities and the formation banners in the sky to shatter and scatter on the spot. How cold! How cold! What kind of flame is this? I can't get rid of it. The many deities endured the intense pain and sat down cross-legged, trying to expel the heavenly snow, divine flame. However, they discovered that the flame was very gentle. The ice and snow melted into their flesh, nearly entering their bones. They could not expel it quickly. Originally, the heavenly snow divine flame was a primal chaos-level flame. When it rose to rank 2, it could instantly severely injure the 6th heaven Emperor Wu. Facing a deity alone, the deity would not even be able to resist before getting burned into ice shards. However, when the deities were scattered among the 800 deities, its might was undoubtedly reduced significantly. This was the only result. This Emperor Wu, who was beside Diwuk, was greatly startled, showing extremely flustered expressions. They had not expected that Shao Qin alone could defeat the 800 deities that they relied on the most. This is the legendary, primal chaos-level divine flame. A ghost race old man said after some thought. He found it hard to believe that such a legendary flame would appear in Shao Chen's hand. It was not because the 800 deities were too weak. Instead, it was because the flame in Shao Chen's hand was too strange and strong. As Shao Chen watched the 800 deities recuperate on the ground, he shook his head slightly, clearly not particularly satisfied. Originally, Shao Chen thought that he could burn at least half of these 800 false emperors to death. Unexpectedly, not a single one died. It looked like the might of a rank 2 divine flame was still too weak after being scattered. However, it was already sufficient. Without these 800 deities, they were much more confident of blocking Diwuk's group. Diwuk's group had more than 100 people. There were 4 greater heavenly Emperor Wu, and the rest were minor heavenly Emperor Wu. There were also heaven-defying geniuses like Diwuk. Let's see how many trump cards you have. Diwuk's expression did not change, as if he did not care about the 800 deities' lives at all. The deity races Lung Jingyang, the phoenix's passion palaces Su Qianqing, and the ghost races and corpse races greater heavenly emperor Wu slowly walked out. End the battle quickly. Do not show any mercy, Diwuk said indifferently. Whoosh! The 4 greater heavenly Emperor Wu's figures flashed, and they spread out, surrounding Shao Qin from 4 directions. Their respective emperors' might spread out, and a formless aura rushed into the sky. For different mysterious phenomena materialized. The image of a deity appeared above Lung Jingyang's head, covering the sky for 50 kilometers around. Above Su Qianqing was a huge flaming vermilion bird, flapping its wings. Flames surged, and heat waves assaulted everyone, dyeing half the sky red. The mysterious phenomena materialized by the ghost race and corpse race old men were even more frightening. Black clouds filled the sky, spirits gathered, and death chi rushed into the sky. For auras intertwined with one another, causing the sky within 500 kilometers to turn restless. It was as if the sky had been split apart. Numerous cracks appeared in the sky, as if a huge spider web had been laid over it. When Emo Chen and the others who were retreating saw the mysterious phenomena above them, they were greatly startled. When they looked back, they saw 4 indistinct figures standing in the air, firmly surrounding Shao Qin. They completely buried Shao Chen's mysterious phenomena, preventing him from raising his head. It's over. The deity Dao Unions for Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu are preparing to attack Shao Qin at the same time. And Junqi exclaimed worriedly, "Vice Sect Master, let's charge back." Some people felt dissatisfied in their hearts. They simply could not bear for Shao Qin to cover the retreat alone, facing such danger alone. Indeed, Vice Sect Master, let's charge back and fight it out with these bastards of the deity Dao Union. At worst, we will just die. Let's charge back, Vice Sect Master. The crowd was agitated. Everyone looked at Fang Baiyu. their eyes blazing with fighting spirit and rage. Fong Baiyu felt conflicted in his heart, showing a complicated expression. After a while he said, "Let's go. Don't look back. The Blue Dragon King is covering the retreat and saving our lives. He wants us to activate the 6th layer of formations and not let the decisive battle start now. He is not sending us to our deaths. Without the Mountain and River Great formation, we have no chance of victory if we fight now." Clang! Right after Fong Baiyu spoke, the 4 greater Heavenly Emperor Wu suppressed Shao Qin. Suddenly, an earth-shaking saber hum erupted. Closely following that, a saber light soared into the clouds and scattered the mysterious phenomena in the surroundings. This saber hum affected the wind shadow sword on Yu Bingyun's back, causing it to tremble endlessly. Her face lit up in joy as she said, "The Cloud Moon saber merged with the Lunar Shadow saber. This is a brand new transcendent divine weapon. Young Master Shao only needs to bring out 30% of its might to block these 4. Chapter 1375. What a strong saber light! The saber light was piercing, forcing Fong Baiyu to squint. However, he felt doubtful about Yu Bingyun's words. Was this really a transcendent divine weapon? A transcendent divine weapon was not something that could be forged so easily. Based on this might, it seemed somewhat lacking. However, the matter at hand was urgent. This was not the time to consider this. Fong Baiyu calmed himself down and said, "It looks like the Blue Dragon King has no problem protecting himself. Let's retreat first and not let down the Blue Dragon King's efforts. Let's go." When everyone saw this saber light soaring into the sky, they relaxed slightly. Then they perked up and rushed back. In the sky above Haoqian City's city gates, the 3 holy masters, who were leading the many greater Heavenly Emperor Wu to fight Yingzongtian and the others, were attracted by this saber light as well. What is this? It seems like the holy might of a divine weapon. However, it is much stronger than that of an ordinary divine weapon. Could it be a transcendent divine weapon? That's not right. It is still weaker than the divine might of a transcendent divine weapon. With the help of the holy beast totems, the 3 holy masters strength soared. They even held the upper hand. When the 3 holy masters saw this scene, they were somewhat surprised. This was because the deity Dao Union did not have such a divine weapon. Yingzongtian looked into the distance. After he saw it clearly, he could not help laughing loudly. What a variable! 3 holy lords, let's go. If you do not, when the worldly mountain river Great Sun formation reactivates, you will be within the range of the formation. Even if you want to leave, you will not be able to. The Vermilion Bird, Holy Lord, and the others quickly sent out a strand of perception. In the end, they discovered that Fong Baiyu's group was rushing towards the 6th layer of formations. Once these people on the level of Emperor were returned to the various nodes of the formations, their group would suffer great losses. The 3 holy masters looked further away. The deity Dao Union's army, which was supposed to be chasing after this group of people, focused all their attention on Shao Qin. Is this D Wuk crazy? Why is he still pestering Shao Qin at this time? The Vermilion Bird, Holy Lord, cursed angrily. He looked at Yingzongtian and said, "You want us to leave? Yingzongtian, you better show us what you've got." After he finished speaking, he took the lead and charged toward Yingzongtian. Accompanying him was a Vermilion Bird sacred beast that was covered in flames. That's right, it was a genuine Vermilion Bird, transformed from a holy beast totem. This was the trump card that the 3 holy masters used to establish their sect. At this moment, in order to prevent Yingzongtian from having the slightest chance to make a breakthrough, the 3 holy lord had to use it. Yingzongtian snorted coldly and said, "Stubborn!" The great battle continued. The sky had long since been torn apart, and even the barrier of the sky had been broken. Vaguely, one could see the aftershocks of the starry heaven storm, occasionally bringing down countless meteors from the stars in the universe. The Haotian sect was no longer a stage for this group of people. If they continued fighting, they would have to enter the starry heavens. In Meteor Trail City, the instant the bronze sword box opened, Shao Chun used that flash of saber light to charge out of the encirclement of the 4 greater Heavenly Emperor Wu cultivators. Shao Chun stretched out his hand and grasped the handle of the brand new lunar shadow saber. He felt a surging, boundless energy. Compared to before, the might of the lunar shadow saber was at least 10 times stronger. It was so strong that Shao Chun found it hard to grasp. Ao Jiao! Has it reached the level of a transcendent, divine weapon? Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, said somewhat embarrassedly, the quality and might of this saber have indeed reached the level of a transcendent, divine weapon. However, my strength as an item spirit has not increased yet. It is not a true, transcendent, divine weapon yet. It's fine. It is enough to deal with these 4 people. Shao Chen stood in the air, facing Lung Jingyang, Su Qianqing, and the others from a distance. Normally, it would be somewhat taxing for Shao Chen to face a greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. This was especially so when he had already used Dermic World and the Heavenly Snow Divine Flame. However, now that he had the divine weapon, the Lunar Shadow Saber, Shao Chen was confident of fighting these 4. To Shao Chen, not having a saber in his hand and having a saber in his hand were 2 completely different situations. Lung Jingyang and the others looked at the lunar shadow saber in Shao Chen's hand at the same time. Their expressions turned exceptionally grave. With a divine weapon, you think you can block the 4 of us? Su Qianqing shouted coldly and took the lead to charge over. A sword appeared in his hand. A flame danced on the sword. As it trembled, it gave off the cry of a phoenix. As Su Qianqing swung his sword, a scarlet fiery light dyed half the sky red. The flames for thousands of kilometers in the sky condensed into feathers, looking like the wings of the vermilion bird. As Su Qianqing swung his sword, it covered the sky. The thousands of kilometers of wings in the sky flapped ferociously, kicking up a strong wind and sending down an overwhelming heat wave. Its aura was incredibly shocking. How horrifying! This startled Shao Chen. This was the peak strike of an older generation, greater, Heavenly Emperor Wu. This sword strike shook the entire space. Without much time to think, Shao Chen flew back into the air. His long sleeves and long hair fluttered in the wind. Every time he spun around, a saber light would shoot out from Shao Chen's body. Saber hums resounded endlessly in the air. Instantly, the sky filled with flickering saber images. It was unknown how many thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of saber lights shot out. Shao Chun used his flawless saber Dao to bring out instant of glory to its limits. Shao Chen wanted to draw out the most glorious painting since he made his Dao. This painting did not have beautiful mountains and rivers, 10,000 dragons soaring, 500 kilometers of ice, or 50 kilometers of peach blossoms. There was only a saber, just one saber, after spinning 100 times, when the thousands of kilometers of vermilion bird wings were about to sweep over. Shao Chen drew his saber. Shao Chun drew his saber, and in an instant, countless saber images merged together. A vast painting appeared in the sky. There was nothing on that painting except a treasure saber, pointing angrily at the sky. However, it depicted the glory of the world, the vicissitudes of life. Space condensed, and the sword in Su Qianqing's hand happened to block the tip of the treasure saber in the painting. The thousands of kilometers of wings in the sky stopped as well. Break! Shao Chen shouted, and the painting shattered. The entire space crumbled, turning into countless shards. However, the saber in the painting leaped out and knocked Su Qianqing back. The flaming wings in the sky and the might of the holy beast scattered as well. Pusi! Su Qianqing vomited a large mouthful of blood. He was in disbelief. His peak strike actually got blocked by Shao Chen. Shao Qin thought to himself, I got lucky. If not for the might of the divine weapon, the lunar shadow saber, no matter how glorious that saber strike was, it would not have been able to block Su Qianqing's peak sword strike. Attacked together, the divine weapon in his hand is already infinitely close to a transcendent divine weapon. Do not be careless. 100 thoughts flashed in the deity race, martial emperor Lung Jingyang's mind. Then he called out to the 2 old men from the ghost race and corpse race and charged over at the same time. They were no longer as careless as Su Qianqing. They carefully dodged the sharpness of the divine weapon and launched all sorts of attacks at Shaoqin. After resting for a while, Su Qianqing charged into the battle. Immediately, for Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu attacked at the same time, fighting an earth-shattering battle with Shaoqin. After 100 moves, the entire Meteor Trail City turned into rubble, a barren land. When Di Wux's group saw this scene, they were incredibly shocked. The 4 Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu attacked at the same time. However, even after 100 moves, although they held the upper hand, they still could not take down Shaoqin. Is the saber in his hand a divine weapon or a transcendent divine weapon? Shaoqin had already drawn his saber. Even though he was far away, the might of a divine weapon that he radiated made Xiao Hoju and the others cry out in shock. They were greatly shocked by Xiao Chen's endless trump cards. Dermic World and Heavenly Snow, Divine Flame, could allow one to move unhindered. However, Xiao Qin had several of them. Divine Sun, should we make a move and help? A ghost race martial emperor suggested, sensing that the situation was not good. Di Wuk looked at Xiao Qin, who was in the middle of a chaotic battle. His expression flickered as he clenched his right hand tightly. His body trembled slightly, but he did not say anything. No one knew what he was thinking. Brother Wuk, what's wrong? Xing Ju asked worriedly when he sensed that something was wrong with Di Wuk. The divine daughter's death was a huge blow to Di Wuk. Xing Ju's worry was not without reason. Damn it! Why? Since I, Di Wuk, made my debut, no one has been able to defeat me. I am resplendent and blessed by great luck. Why? This darn heavens let you, Xiao Qin, appear. I refuse to accept this. Di Wuk, who had been suppressing himself for a long time, burst out with dissatisfaction when he saw that for Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu could not kill Xiao Qin. I refuse to accept this. I, Di Wuk, refuse to accept this. Di Wuk shouted at the sky, and a boundlessly horrifying aura burst out of his body, releasing a dazzling light. Xingju and the others quickly moved away, lest they get injured by Di Wuk's aura. He is one of the older generation Emperor, Wu said with some horror, seeming to have guessed something. Right after Xiao Qin spoke, a simple and mysterious door suddenly descended from the sky, piercing through space. A boundless, multicolored light descended from the sky, hovering in midair. Emperor's door. Di Wuk is crazy. He does not have sufficient accumulations. To think that he wants to forcefully undergo the great tribulation of wind and fire. The deity Dao Union's group was startled into a fluster. At this moment, no matter who it was, all of them wanted to run as far as they could. Chapter 1376. The deity Dao Union's group soared into the air and fled far away. However, before they could get far, that emperor's door completely stabilized and hovered in midair. Buzz! The entire ground of Meteor Trail City caved in and cracked. Even the lava in the depths of the ground spewed out. It was like a heavy strike. All the people flying in the air felt like they got hammered down. They vomited a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. After they got up, they did not even look back, continuing to flee quickly. The sudden appearance of the Emperor's door also knocked down the 4 Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu Emperors, who were fighting Xiao Qin. Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's lips. Just as he was about to land, he pushed the tip of his saber against the ground and flipped over to stabilize himself. Xiao Chen looked at Di Wuk, whose long hair and clothes fluttered, gathering all the auras in the surroundings. This was simply too surprising. To think that Di-Wuk wanted to forcefully clear his great tribulation of wind and fire. The risks of forcefully clearing the tribulation were unpredictable. This was something that Shao Qin had been avoiding. The great tribulation of wind and fire already had a slim chance of survival. Forcefully clearing it was no different from suicide. It was impossible for Di-Wuk not to understand this simple principle. Furthermore, his accumulations were still far from sufficient. Normally, he would need at least a year before he could clear his great tribulation of wind and fire. While Shao Chun was surprised, the four greater Heavenly Emperor Wu Emperors were even more surprised. Divine Son, what's going on? The deity race greater Heavenly Martial Emperor Lung Jingyang looked at Di-Wuk in a daze. Is it because the divine daughter's death dealt a huge blow to him, so he seeks death as well? Brother Lung, what should we do now? Su Qinqing asked. The two elders from the ghost race and the corpse race also looked at Lung Jingyang. They were confused by this sudden turn of events. Lung Jingyang muttered to himself for a while. Then a murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he said, "The plan remains the same. Continue to kill Shao Qin. This fellow destroyed the Divine Son. We absolutely cannot let him live." Obviously, he believed that the chances of Di-Wuk successfully overcoming the tribulation were almost zero. They had already given up completely, placing all the blame on Shao Qin. That is exactly what I was thinking. This Brett clearly lacks stamina. Before advancing to Martial Emperor, he will not be able to bring out much of the divine weapon's might. The four great emperors quickly finished their discussion and surrounded Shao Qin again. Fang Baiyu's group had already successfully entered the sixth ring of the formation. At this moment, Shao Qin already had thoughts of retreating. However, the four martial monarchs were determined not to let him go. Shao Qin wasn't in a hurry. This accident was beneficial to him, and it wouldn't take long. Emperor Forsaken would definitely not give up on Di-Wuk. It wouldn't be long before everyone returned to protect Di-Wuk. In the sky above Haotian City, Yingzongtian and the three holy masters, who were fighting, immediately sensed the arrival of the emperor's door. At first, Yingzongtian thought that it was Shao Qin undergoing his tribulation, so his expression turned extremely grave. When Yingzongtian saw that it was Di-Wuk undergoing his tribulation, his expression relaxed slightly. At the same time, he felt some doubt in his heart. What kind of blow did this Di-Wuk suffer? Why did he forcefully undergo his tribulation for no reason? Oh no, this fellow Di-Wuk is crazy. The white tiger, Holy Lord, cursed in anger. The vermilion bird, Holy Lord, glanced at the worldly mountain river Great Sun formation below, which was about to reactivate, and Di-Wuk suddenly went crazy. He immediately made a decision and said, "Retreat!" The greater Heavenly Emperor Wu of the deity Dao Union's group immediately withdrew, not lingering. The greater Heavenly Emperor Wu of the Haotian sect's group immediately heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure of the three holy masters, who brought out their holy beast totems, was simply too great. The Peacock King and the others quickly gathered around Yingzongtian. As they looked at the emperor's door in the distance, their faces filled with shock. "Brother Haotian, do you think this Di-Wuk has really gone crazy?" the Peacock King asked Yingzongtian. Forcefully undergoing his tribulation was something that this group of older generation Emperor Wu did not even dare to think about. Yingzongtian's gaze pierced through the boundless distance and clearly sized up Di-Wuk. Looking into his eyes, he said, "Di-Wuk is also an outstanding genius. This move of his looks certain to die. However, if there is a 1 in a billion chance that he actually runs into it, it will not be good." Brother Haotian means to say that he is trying to advance to Martial Emperor before Shao Qin, putting himself in a perilous situation and making one last attempt. Yingzongtian nodded and said, "However, the chances are slim." "Even if the chances are slim, there is still a chance. We should completely eliminate this chance. Everyone here was a powerhouse of a region. They were very decisive in killing. Many of them expressed the same thoughts. If Diwuk really succeeded in his tribulation, he might be able to defy the heavens and change his fate, directly becoming the bearer of luck. The deity Tao Union's side would obtain the favor of the heavenly Tao. To them, this would be a devastating blow. A light flickered in Xongtian's eyes. He looked even further and thought even deeper. Then he shook his head and said there's no need. Since he wants to risk it, I will give him this chance. Come, let's go and take a look first. Behind the deity Tao Union, Emperor Forsaken and the heaven-punishing corpse god, who were preparing for the final battle, were both stunned when they saw the scene on the water screen. Winds blew and clouds churned above the water screen. An emperor's door stood upright in the air. This emperor's door gave off a supreme might, mysterious and filled with temptation. Emperor Forsaken was stunned for a moment. Then he stood up with a whoosh. At this moment, some ripples appeared in his calm heart. Emperor Forsaken frowned heavily, his expression turning grave. After a long time, he sighed softly. Wuk, why do this to yourself? Once the Hautian sect is destroyed, your path will be smooth sailing. Qitian, what are your plans now? The heaven-punishing corpse god asked as he looked at Emperor Forsaken. This unexpected turn of events had indeed surpassed the two's expectations. A grave look flashed in Emperor Forsaken's eyes. He said, Protect Diwuk with all your might as he undergoes his tribulation. Don't let anyone disturb Wuk. The heaven-punishing corpse god's lips curled up as he said, Is there a need for that? No one in history has ever survived a forceful tribulation. From the desolate antiquity era to the ancient era to the present era, all of them died without exception. Even if they managed to survive, they would be half dead, crippled for the rest of their lives. When Emperor Forsaken heard this, he raged, Xing Tian, don't anger me. What he said is the truth. Just at this moment, another voice rang out. It was the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, who had been sniping at the Fox King, rushing back because of Diwuk's matter. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor continued, Qitian, the Emperor's door has already descended. Soon, his Emperor's road will descend. You can no longer change this. You should also understand that the Divine Daughter will be his heart tribulation. The path he walks is a path of certain death. The heaven-punishing corpse god thought for a while before saying, There is no need to go through so much trouble for a sacrificial pawn. I think the deity Tao Union should be disbanded. The heaven-punishing corpse god's words were out of helplessness. Since ancient times, no one had succeeded in forcefully clearing their tribulation. Furthermore, Diwuk was now completely crazy. Just at this moment, the scene on the water screen changed again. The clouds in the surroundings of the Emperor's door gave off a bright light. Red, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, purple. They changed into 9 colors before stopping. Whoosh! A staircase made of 9-colored glass extended from the bottom of the Emperor's door all the way down. There were a total of 9,000 steps, giving off a dreamy light like an immortal's road. The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor both showed stunned expressions at the same time. They did not dare to believe what they saw. A 9-colored Emperor's road. This was an existence of a higher grade than a golden Emperor's road. This was a mysterious phenomenon that only appeared when a supreme powerhouse underwent a tribulation during the peak of the martial epoch. Ha ha ha! It is a 9-colored Emperor's road. 9 is the limit of numbers. 9 is venerated. 9 is king. This is the true Emperor's road for kings. Emperor Forsaken reared his head back and laughed. Diwuk had put his life on the line, forcefully clearing his tribulation. However, in the end, he managed to obtain an Emperor's road for himself. Chapter 1377. The heaven-punishing corpse god said, Qitian, back then you walked the golden Emperor's road, right? Emperor Forsaken nodded and said yes. Back then, I had many competitors. However, after I finished walking the Golden Emperor's road, no one in the deity race dared to challenge the position of deity emperor. The Dong Yue ghost emperor muttered, "The Golden Emperor's road can make one a prime? Could it be that the 9-colored emperor's road can surpass prime? Everything is possible. The existences above prime in history have always been a mystery. This has always been a mystery. Quite a few powerful senior existences have completely disappeared from the traces of history. It is very likely that they surpassed supreme beings, leaving this land of exile." Emperor Forsaken looked at the two and asked, "Is a powerful genius that can summon a 9-colored emperor's road worth another bet?" The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor exchanged glances and said, "Let's bet. I'm willing to protect Diwok." "I'm willing as well." The appearance of the 9-colored emperor's road changed the minds of the heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor. The reason was very simple. It was for that faintly discernible opportunity. If Diwok really cleared his great tribulation of wind and fire, he might surpass prime. To them, this was an unavoidable temptation. "What is that?" Suddenly, the heaven-punishing corpse god pointed at the water screen in front of him, showing a flustered expression. Suddenly, large patches of red clouds gathered in the sky opposite Diwok on the water screen. The clouds were scarlet like blood, looking very startling. They looked like pools of blood hanging high in the sky. Such a scene was incredible, unheard of and unseen before. The instant Diwok's 9-colored emperor's road landed in Meteor Trail City, Shaoqin, who was fighting with the 4 greater martial emperors, felt that something was wrong. The energy that Shaoqin had been deliberately controlling completely went out of control. In an instant, all of it burst forth. 100 strands of primordial energy, 100 strands of dragon vital qi, and the magic energy in Shaoqin's sea of consciousness burned. The peak will of thunder flickered with light. The saber intent all over Shaoqin's body burst forth. A strong wind howled. The sky and the ground were filled with Shaoqin's sharp saber intent. Countless rare phenomena burst out from his body, including a blue dragon, lightning, frenzied saber, and so on. The 4 martial monarchs who had the upper hand and were suppressing him were shocked. Startled by this phenomenon, the 2 of them retreated at the same time to avoid it. "There's something wrong with this kid," Leng Zhengyang said with a serious expression. Su Qianqing had a strange expression on his face. He felt a drop of rain falling on his forehead. He reached out and touched it, only to discover that it was a drop of blood. Raising his head, he saw that the clouds in the sky were as thick as ink and as red as blood. It was as if an endless sea of blood had appeared in the vast sky. Hua! The blood rain poured down, instantly drenching the clothes of the 4. The oppressive atmosphere deterred the 4 from remaining. They retreated frantically, retreating 50 kilometers. Only when they were above Diwok's side did the blood rain stop. Amid the blood rain, Shaoqin's white robes became covered in blood. As Shaoqin looked at the dense blood clouds in the sky, he entered a daze, feeling somewhat confused. "This is my great tribulation of wind and fire." The instant Diwok's 9-colored emperor's road descended, Shaoqin felt that something was wrong. Then it turned out to be so. The suppressed energy completely erupted. The great tribulation of wind and fire, which could descend at any moment, was completely drawn out. Diwok's 9-colored emperor's road had completely lured them out. However, Shaoqin had not expected that the mysterious phenomenon triggered by his great tribulation of wind and fire would cover 500,000 kilometers. Blood clouds covering the sky. Whoosh! 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 In the distance, this scene attracted the attention of Ingzongtian, the Fox King, the other primes, and the sovereign martial emperors. They stopped and looked into the distance, feeling confused. They had never seen or heard of such a mysterious phenomenon before. Since ancient times, there had never been any records of a person's tribulation triggering 500,000 kilometers of blood clouds. On the other side, the three primes of the deity Tao Union were also startled by this mysterious phenomenon, no longer able to sit still. They brought all the factions of the deity Tao Union from extremely far away and quickly rushed over. Firstly, they feared that Ingzongtian and the others would disrupt the divine sun's tribulation. Secondly, they wanted to see the movements of the blood clouds above Shao Chen's head. Immediately, all the sovereign martial emperors and hidden experts of the deity Tao Union moved out. Behind Di Wuk was a faction even vaster than the sea. When Ingzongtian's side saw this, they felt slightly startled. Unexpectedly, the deity Tao Union was still hiding so much strength. The Fox King, you are very knowledgeable. What is going on with Shao Chen? Ingzongtian could not get an answer from such a situation. Feeling helpless, he could only ask the Fox King, who was beside him. The other party was a fiend race prime, someone who became famous 1,000 years before Ingzongtian. He definitely knew a lot more. Who knew? The Fox King shook his head and said, I have never seen or heard of such a mysterious phenomenon during a tribulation. In the ancient records, a 9-colored emperor's road is already the highest level. Ingzongtian felt a trace of worry. He said sullenly, we can't care so much now. Focus on defense. We will protect Shao Chen. We absolutely cannot let the deity Tao Union's people interfere with Shao Chen's tribulation. Half of the sky of Meteor Trail City, which spanned millions of kilometers, was now filled with 9-colored light. Colorful clouds floated in the sky for millions of kilometers, glistening with divine light. On the other hand, blood clouds covered the sky, thick like ink, and heavy rain poured down. The three primes on the deity Tao Union's side looked at the blood cloud above Shao Chen's head, speechless. Naturally, Di Wuk also saw the phenomenon that Shao Chen created. The two of them stood facing each other, separated by millions of kilometers. However, Di Wuk had no time to think too much, as he had to continue on his emperor's road. Just as everyone was captivated by Shao Chen's mysterious phenomenon, Di Wuk's long hair fluttered in the wind. With a loud shout, he leapt onto the colorful road of Emperor and began to walk upwards. Di Wuk had just ascended the Emperor's road when a strong wind turned into many icy whips. The whips quickly lashed at him. Pa! Pa! Everywhere the whips passed, space froze. After one step, when Di Wuk reappeared, he had 10 wounds on his body. This was especially so for the bloody wound on his face. It contained a cold energy, and his blood was tinged with purple. It was so painful that Di Wuk's lips twitched continuously. Such a scene made Emperor Forsaken and the other 2 primes suck in a deep breath. The difficulty of the 9-colored Emperor's road was even more difficult than they had imagined. This was just the first step, and Shao Chen was already so injured. In that case, how were he going to complete the remaining 8,000-odd steps? Brother Qitian, now is not the time to worry about that. Look, that brat's emperor's door is about to descend as well, the Dongyue ghost emperor said as he pointed into the distance. Emperor Forsaken squinted and saw a whirlpool in the 500 kilometers of blood clouds. It looked like the emperor's door was about to descend from the end of the whirlpool. We absolutely cannot let him clear his great tribulation of wind and fire. Such a mysterious phenomenon is unheard of. If he really clears it, no one will be able to stop him. Emperor Forsaken enunciated every word, each one filled with boundless murderous intent. The 3 holy masters, Holy Lord, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, and the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God all felt this intense murderous intent. He deserves to die. If he clears it, he will definitely become the 2nd Qing Emperor. Even if we use up all our resources, we have to bury him on the Emperor's road. Soon, All the upper echelon of the deity Tao Union reached a consensus. They absolutely could not let Shao Qin clear his tribulation. Amid the blood rain, Shao Qin entered deep thought as he looked at the scarlet whirlpool descending from the sky. He stretched out his hand, and a jade strip appeared in his palm. This jade strip was used to gather the various holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean. Originally, it was meant to be used on the Haotian sect. Unexpectedly, it ended up being used on Shao Qin. Never mind. Let me see what exactly my Emperor's road is like, Shao Qin said coldly. Shao Qin said coldly. Then, the jade strip in his hand shattered into pieces. Instantly, the many martial emperors in the distant heavenly starry ocean all received the notification. Boom! Just as Shao Qin crushed the jade strip, the emperor's door slowly descended from the whirlpool. A significant amount of blood leaked out of the cracks in the simple and unadorned emperor's door. After a while, a scarlet staircase appeared in front of the door. Then it extended all the way until it reached Shao Qin. There were a total of 10,000 steps. Shao Qin raised his head and looked. What appeared before him was clearly a path of blood. Chapter 1378. In the oceanic world, within the Black Sea, the 18 great bandits gathered together. Shao Qin looked in the direction of the Kunlun continent. There was a patch of red clouds there. Even from hundreds of millions of kilometers away, he could clearly see the eye-catching color. That wisp of blood cloud was horrifying, and the shock it brought to everyone had already surpassed the distance of space. At this moment, it was not just them. Every Emperor Wu in the Kunlun realm felt fear in their hearts. Like the 18 great bandits of the Black Sea, they stood on high ground and gazed into the distance. Blood Shark King, what's going on with these blood clouds? I can actually feel the stench of blood rain and wind from so far away. How strange. It's not like we've never seen blood clouds before. However, compared to this one, it feels completely different. Even with our cultivation bases, we're still affected. Perhaps it's an ominous sign. Blood clouds cover the sky, indicating that a disaster is about to descend. This was something that even a prime could not explain, so naturally the 18 great bandits of the Black Sea could not. The blood shark monarch pondered for a long time before saying, I can't say for sure. This is unheard of, so it's really hard to explain. Should we go and take a look? Based on the direction, it seems to be in the Tianwu domain. Who knows? It might be related to the Blue Dragon King. Someone said excitedly as his eyes lit up when he thought of something. Bang! At that moment, a jade slip flew out from the Blood Shark Monarch's chest and exploded. Blood Shark Monarch said leisurely, It seems that I have to go. The Blue Dragon King is in trouble. Everyone, are you willing to join me? What are you talking about, Blood Shark King? You're not the only one who agreed to the Blue Dragon King. That's right. The Blue Dragon King is extremely graceful and loyal. Helping him today is the same as helping ourselves. How can we not go? Why not? Haha, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. The 18 great bandits of the Black Ocean did not hesitate at all. This group of people had always been passionate people. Most of the time when they agreed to do something for someone, as long as they saw eye to eye, it would be fine. Unlike some people of the righteous path who are overcautious and indecisive, calculating again and again, planning again and again before making the final decision. At the same time, the others who had an agreement with Shao Qin also received the news. The cyclic astral lord revealed a smile on his face as he looked at the jade strip before him shattering. He said indifferently, You are finally here. It looks like you have something to do with these 500,000 kilometers of blood clouds. Men, tell the holy son Chu Yang to come out of closed-door cultivation. I'll bring him to witness the grand scene that the Kunlun realm rarely sees in 10,000 years. Similar scenes took place on the Myriad Fiend Island, the Five Poison Sect, the Heavenly Province Academy, the Inyan Utopia, and the other sacred grounds. Suddenly, the great emperors all came out, and the entire oceanic world was affected by this aura. Tsunamis rose to the sky, and the waves did not stop. Even the ordinary people felt that something was wrong. It was as if something big had happened. As for the Kunlun continent, even ordinary people could see the strange scarlet clouds. This startled the surroundings. Several cultivators could not suppress their curiosity and rushed over to the scarlet clouds. 9 colored 1,000 steps and blood cloud 10,000 steps. The tribulations of the two affected the hearts of all the experts of the Kunlun immortal realm. Several of the hidden Emperor Wu felt unsettled by this mysterious phenomenon and had to come out of closed-door cultivation in advance. When they saw the 500,000 kilometers of scarlet clouds clashing with the 9-colored tribulation clouds, their expressions changed drastically. Then they rushed towards Meteor Trail City. Mo Chen and the others, who had already retreated to the 6th layer formations, could no longer sit still when they saw such a strange change. They all rushed out. In Meteor Trail City, the heaven-punishing corpse god looked at the descending Scarlet Emperor's road and muttered, "The brat seems to have crushed the convening token earlier. That group of holy lord and primes of the oceanic world should be making a move now." Emperor Forsaken smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. I made preparations long ago. It would be fine if they do not come. However, if they do, I will make sure that they never return." The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor felt startled. They wondered what trump cards Emperor Forsaken had. To think that he was so confident. Were the accumulations of the deity race that horrifying? Emperor Forsaken, how about we have a gentleman's agreement? Let these 2 juniors undergo their tribulations on their own. As seniors, we will not make a move. Ing Zongtian and the Fox King, the 2 primes, soared into the air and happened to stand guard above Xiao Chen's emperor's door. Then they looked at Emperor Forsaken in the distance. Emperor Forsaken smiled and retorted, "A gentleman's agreement? Ing Zongtian, you are too hypocritical. If not for Xiao Chen undergoing his tribulation as well, would you have made this agreement with me?" When Ing Zongtian heard that, he could not help feeling disappointed. He opened his mouth, but did not say anything in the end. The Fox King frowned and said, "Qi Tian, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a vile person." Before Xiao Chen underwent his tribulation, old brother Ing already restrained his fellow cultivators from interfering with Di Wuk's tribulation. It does not matter who is the vile person and who is the gentleman. Whoever is stronger is the king. Just like now, it is the 2 of you begging me, not me begging you. Emperor Forsaken remained unmoved. He smiled coldly with disdain in his eyes. Ing Zongtian looked worriedly at Xiao Chen's blood-red emperor's road. He said sincerely, "Brother Qitian, now is not the time to show off. You should know that if we are not careful, the 2 most promising, outstanding talents of the Kunlun realm will end up dying." Emperor Forsaken smiled coldly and said, "You are too naive. You are not a threat to me. No matter what, the deity Dao Union absolutely will not let Xiao Chen succeed in his tribulation today. Big brothering, don't bother speaking nonsense with him. If he wants to fight it out, let's fight it out with him. This old man cannot take this lying down. He is too much of a bully. Big brothering, there is no need to beg him. That's right. We will stand guard here today. Let's see who dares to interfere with the Blue Dragon King's tribulation." The various greater heavenly martial emperors and sovereign martial emperors soared into the sky and raged at Emperor Forsaken's despicable attitude. "Humph, you are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. If not for the fact that I do not want to expose my trump cards, I can destroy your Haotian sect with a wave of my hand. Do you really think that you can fight against the deity Dao Union? Attack!" Emperor Forsaken snorted coldly, his expression turning completely cold. Right after Emperor Forsaken spoke, the heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor led the group of greater heavenly martial emperors to charge at Ing Zongtian and the others. The three holy masters each stood on one side, controlling their holy beast totems to protect Diwok. An intense battle immediately unfolded under the blood clouds. Primes against primes, Sovereign Emperor Wu against Sovereign Emperor Wu, and Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu against Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. Immediately, the already intense blood rain became even more intense. The entire world trembled. The ground cracked, and sand and rocks flew everywhere. The blood clouds shattered, forming many horrifying scarlet tornadoes howling everywhere. The number of Greater Heavenly Martial Emperors, the Haotian sect, did not hold an advantage over the allied army of the deity Dao Yunyan's 4 races. Many of the deity Dao Yunyan's Emperor Wu stared coldly at Shao Qin, who had yet to step onto his emperor's road, preparing to make a move at any moment. As Shao Qin watched the bitter battle in the sky, he vaguely understood why his emperor's road was scarlet. Shao Qin's right hand, which held his saber, trembled slightly. His left hand clenched into a fist. Shao Qin's fingernails dug into his flesh, and blood seeped out, turning the place incredibly scarlet. He temporarily buried some rage in the depths of his heart. Shao Qin took a deep breath and gently pushed off with his feet, leaping onto his emperor's road. A strong wind blew. The martial emperor, who had been waiting for a long time, instantly made his move. Immediately, many ghostly figures, skeletons, and demonic seals appeared in the wind. They were faintly discernible and contained killing intent. These Greater Heavenly Martial Emperors did not dare to get too close to the Emperor's road. They could only attack from afar. However, this was enough to threaten Shao Qin. Shao Qin narrowed his eyes. His figure flashed, leaving behind afterimages as he quickly swung his saber. Whoosh! 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 Miserable cries rang out by Shao Qin's ears. It was like the ghostly figures in the wind were real. The 300 afterimages merged. The instant Shao Qin stepped onto the Emperor's road, a scarlet skull appeared on the distant Emperor's road and charged at him. The scarlet skull had empty eyes, leaping flames, and leaping scarlet eyes. With just one look, it triggered all the fear in one's heart. This was especially so for the 10,000 scarlet steps. As the skull slowly approached, it magnified the fear in one's heart. This was a test of Shao Qin's will. If his will was not firm, he would not even be qualified to step on this road. Whoosh! The scarlet skull grew increasingly larger. As it got closer, it pierced through Shao Qin's body like the wind. All sorts of fear immediately magnified in Shao Qin's heart. Shao Qin's body wobbled at the edge of the Emperor's road, looking like he would fall at any moment. No. Amo Qin, who had already rushed over with the others, could not help crying out when she saw the scene. Tears immediately flashed in her eyes. Emperor Forsaken's eyes lit up. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he stretched out his finger from 500,000 kilometers away and gently tapped. Whoosh! The sky shattered, and a huge finger pierced through the sky like a deity, pressing towards Shao Qin. Chapter 1379. When Emperor Forsaken, the strongest prime under the Thunder King, made a move, it would naturally be extraordinary. The timing of this finger strike was very precise. The Haotian Prime and the Fox King happened to be delayed by the Corpse God and the Ghost Monarch, so they could only watch as this finger strike landed. Bang! This finger strike landed on Shao Qin's already tottering body. Shao Qin vomited a mouthful of blood and landed on the Scarlet Road. Shao Qin's blood looked exceptionally eye-catching. No. Amo Qin, Yu Bingyan, and the other girls all cried out in shock, unable to accept this result. Success! Falling off the Emperor's road was equivalent to failing the tribulation. When many people saw this scene, they all thought that Shao Qin would fail the tribulation. However, the Emperor's road did not collapse. The Scarlet Emperor's door still hung in the sky, showing no signs of disappearing. Emperor Forsaken frowned slightly. Although this finger strike of his was not very powerful for the sake of pursuing absolute speed, it was still a casual strike. Even so, it would have been more than enough to deal with Shao Qin, easily knocking him into the air. What went wrong? Why has this emperor's road not collapsed yet? Everyone had this question in their hearts. Emperor Forsaken's eyes lit up. He looked around and saw a few unremarkable fingers at the edge of the Scarlet Road. He did not go down. Shao Qin is still there. At the edge of the Scarlet Road, a wound appeared on Shao Qin's chest. One of his hands hung on the Scarlet Road with some difficulty. Shao Qin's body was like a catkin, drifting with the wind. However, no matter how he drifted, his 5 fingers remained firmly on the Scarlet Road. Shao Qin's heart remained calm. Speaking of which, he had to thank Emperor Forsaken for this strike, the red skull that fell from the peak of the Emperor's Road. This caused the fear in Shao Qin's heart to expand infinitely. Even with his mental state, this fear was somewhat unbearable. However, Emperor Forsaken's finger strike allowed Shao Qin to quickly extricate himself from the brink of life and death. Shao Qin pulled with all his might. He spun in the air and landed on the bloody path again. Emperor Forsaken's face darkened. Without another word, he pointed his finger at Shao Qin. Let's see if you'll have such good luck again. The giant finger tore through the sky once again and pointed at the place where Shao Qin was standing. Everywhere it passed, the space would shatter. All sorts of poems of the god race were sung in the air. It was like an epic that had existed since time immemorial. This finger was like the wrath of the god of heaven. Qi-Tian, don't go too far. In the sky, Ingzongtian, who was entangled with the heaven-punishing corpse god, was enraged. He let out a loud roar and paid the price of taking a palm strike from the heaven-punishing corpse god. Then he threw a palm strike at the sky. A great sun appeared in his palm, looking like the rising sun. Brilliant golden light illuminated half the sky as the great sun soared. The divine spirit image in the sky that had pointed out its finger was directly shattered. The giant finger shattered on its own, turning into countless strands of divine light that fell around the bloody path like flowers. Bang! However, the price of this strike was a solid palm strike. How could one be distracted when fighting primes? The heaven-punishing corpse god took advantage of this opportunity to clench his fist and used 10,000 dragon force to strike Ingzongtian's chest. Pu Xi! Ingzongtian was immediately knocked back 10 kilometers, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. As he retreated, several of the martial emperors that were fighting were knocked back, severely injured. When Shao Qin landed and looked up, he happened to see this scene. Big brother Ing. Shao Qin's heart bled, but he could not do anything. Emperor Forsaken was too much of a bully. Little brother Shao Qin, focus on your emperor's road. Don't get distracted. The pale Ingzongtian smiled casually at Shao Qin. Then he charged at the heaven-punishing corpse god. Xingtian, you are only SOSO after all. You used your physical body to substantiate your Tao. You merely tickled me. Ha ha ha. Humph. How dare you look down on me? The heaven-punishing corpse god was extremely hot-tempered. He immediately increased his strength by 10% and started fighting Ingzongtian. Boom! The shock waves of the two's battle instantly doubled. The other martial emperors and sovereign martial emperors could not avoid them in time. Shao Qin stopped getting distracted. He took a deep look at his emperor's road before taking the first step. In a split second, gusts of cold wind whistled over like blades. Unable to dodge, Shao Qin brandished his saber and brandished it wildly. The air rang out incessantly. Di Wuk, on the other hand, was undisturbed and protected by the 3 holy masters. Although he was covered in wounds, he had already walked more than 100 steps and was far ahead. In comparison, Shao Qin's monarch's road was much more difficult. Not only did he have to face all sorts of strange winds, but he also had to deal with them. On top of that, Shao Chun had to face the occasional harassment of the deity Dao Union's martial emperors and Emperor Forsaken. Emperor Forsaken wasn't in a hurry either. From time to time, he would make a move, forcing Ying Zongtian and the Fox King to take a hit from the supreme martial artist, helping Shao Chun to block the fatal attacks from Emperor Forsaken. In an instant, the two supremes were severely injured by the Ghost Emperor and the Corpse God. The other Haotian sect martial monarchs were in an even worse state. They had to fight at least 1 against 2, or even 3. Whoosh! Suddenly, Emperor's essence and boundless spiritual energy filled the air, spreading out with the wind. One of the Haotian sect's martial emperors fell. The many cultivators watching the battle in the periphery of Meteor Trail City all sucked in a breath of cold air. A bona fide greater heavenly emperor Wu fell. Based on the situation, it seemed like there would be a second and third, perhaps even a sovereign martial emperor. Two powerful, outstanding talents undergoing their tribulations at the same time. This is probably the first time such a scene has happened since ancient times. What's even more incredible is that one is the legendary peak 9-colored Emperor's Road, and the other is the unheard-of Soaring Blood Road. I wonder which one is more incredible. Most likely, the Kunlun continent's Emperor Wu has been startled. I wonder how many Emperor Wu will fall in this battle. The Blue Dragon King is probably in some danger. If this continues, the deity Dao Union will defeat the Haotian sect sooner or later. Outside Meteor Trail City, the cultivators rushing over were all stunned by this scene. Such a scene deterred some of the Emperor Wu from entering Meteor Trail City. They could only watch from afar lest they get caught up in the shockwaves. The situation was already clear. The peak forces of the Haotian sect were routed. This was reflected in Shao Chen's Emperor's Road. He had only taken 100 steps, but Diwuk had already taken 1,000. Fortunately, I'm not too late. Just at this moment, a relaxed voice rang out in the distance. The sky for 5,000 kilometers around suddenly turned pitch black. As the starlight filled the sky, the handsome cyclic astral lord rushed over with Chu Yang in tow. With one finger, he extinguished the divine finger that Emperor Forsaken was still brewing. Emperor Forsaken's expression changed slightly. Unexpectedly, the cyclic astral lord arrived so quickly. The cyclic astral lord is here. Mo Chun and the others cheered. They could only feel anxious in this huge battle. There was no chance for them to interfere at all. The arrival of the cyclic astral lord, a prime, gave everyone a glimmer of hope of turning the tide. 3 holy masters block him. Emperor Forsaken ordered expressionlessly. With the strength of the 3 holy lords and the holy beast totems, blocking the cyclic astral lord was nothing. Why the trouble? A drawn-out sigh resounded. The myriad law fiend master suddenly appeared, and the aura of a prime spread out. Immediately, the 3 holy lords no longer dared to move. Once they left, no one could block the attacks of a prime on Diwuk. The myriad law fiend master is here as well. Another prime. Startled cries rang out. The myriad law fiend master narrowed his eyes and threw 3 palm strikes, causing the deity Dao Union's Emperor Wu, who was sneak attacking Shao Qin, to vomit blood and fall to the ground. Whoosh! 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 A black cloud flew over from the distance in the sky. The Blood Shark Sovereign led the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea over. These are the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. What a fellow! How many people did the Blue Dragon King invite to protect him? Before the many Emperor Wu could exclaim in shock, the Holy Lords of the Heavenly Province Academy, the 5 Poison Sect, and the Yin Yang Paradise appeared one after another. Under the pressure of the strong auras, the deity Dao Union's Emperor Wu no longer dared to make a move. He revealed horrified expressions as he retreated. What's going on? The powerhouses of the oceanic world are all rushing over. The Emperor Wu of the deity Dao Union's side all retreated. gathering behind the ghost monarch and the corpse god with somewhat grave expressions. They knew that Shao Qin had convinced some people in the oceanic world. However, they had not expected that he had moved all the peak characters of the entire oceanic world away. They knew that Shao Qin had convinced some people in the oceanic world. However, they had not expected that he had moved away nearly all the peak characters of the entire oceanic world. Qi, didn't you say that you have a way to stop these people? Why did they still come? What are we supposed to do? For primes, 18 sovereign martial emperors, and 3 holy lord. The heaven-punishing corpse god sent a voice transmission to Emperor Forsaken while suppressing his rage. However, the rage in Emperor Forsaken's heart was even greater than his. The Treasure Master had clearly promised him that he would help block half of the great martial emperors and primes. However, he did not manage to block a single one, and all of them rushed over. Heavenly Star Treasure Master, after this is over, I will definitely kill you. Emperor Forsaken's eyes were filled with dense, murderous intent. He wished that he could rush over and tear the Treasure Master into 10,000 pieces. Without the Thunder King around, he was the strongest expert of the Kunlun realm. However, a Heavenly Starry Ocean's Treasure Master played him for a fool. Qi, if you stop now, I can let bygones be bygones. The gentleman's agreement is still valid, Ying Zongtian said as he stood upright with his hands behind his back and looked at Emperor Forsaken. Emperor Forsaken laughed loudly and said, Ying Zongtian, when I became a prime, you were not even worth a fart. What qualifications do you have to speak to me? Stop pretending to be righteous. Today, Shao Qin will die. No matter who comes, it will be useless. Emperor Forsaken held up the sky with one hand, and space shattered. A terrifying aura came from it. Ying Zongtian and the other primes frowned slightly as they looked at the mysterious existence in the crack. At the same time, they felt startled. There seemed to be an existence surpassing prime in there. Chapter 1380. The aura that leaked out from the pitch-black spatial tear put heavy pressure on everyone. Everyone within several million kilometers of Meteor Trail City felt like there was a dagger pressing down on their backs, not daring to move at all. Even Di Wuk and Shao Qin, who were walking on their Emperor's Road, felt some pressure. However, the two of them could not afford to be distracted. Their great tribulations of wind and fire were each more ferocious than the other. Di Wuk glanced around and saw that Shao Qin had only taken a few steps. He calmed down slightly. However, when Shao Qin raised his head and looked at his 9-colored Emperor's Road, he, who had just taken 100 steps, immediately felt some despair. Of the 9,000 steps, Shao Qin had not even walked a tenth of them, and he was already injured to such an extent. Can I really finish walking the legendary Emperor's Road, which is said to be the highest level? No, I cannot feel despair. I have to finish walking this Emperor's Road. This is my Di Wuk's last chance. The despair in Di Wuk's heart only lasted for a moment before vanishing without a trace. Shao Qin's gaze turned resolute and stubborn once more. His determination and desire for this Emperor's Road were no less than Shao Qin's. Shao Qin had only just started walking the 10,000 steps. This path was filled with many uncertain factors. Shao Qin did not even know what would happen after he finished walking it. However, Shao Qin's mentality was much better than Di Wuk's. He did not have any messy thoughts. There was only one goal in his heart, to finish walking this bloody path. It did not matter if he became a demon or attained the Tao. On Hao Qian City's side, because of that mysterious energy, Ying Zongtian, the Myriad Law Fiend Master, and the other primes gathered together. They all showed extremely grave expressions. Is that an aura surpassing prime? Ying Zongtian asked uncertainly. The Fox King frowned and said, It is impossible for the Kunlun realm to have an existence surpassing prime. That is impossible. What exactly is this? That was right. The Thunder King was very strong. However, he did not surpass prime. Whether or not there was a pinnacle above the Supreme Being realm was still a question. However, the Kunlun realm did not have any existences that surpassed Prime. Or rather, if one surpassed Prime, they would not be able to remain in the Kunlun realm. This was 100% certain. The myriad law fiend master's normally calm expression turned somewhat grave at this moment. He sighed softly and said, "What if the existence in here came from the Kunlun realm in the first place?" The other primes suddenly recalled that the deity race was not a race of the Kunlun realm in the first place. They came from the mysterious outer domain. However, more than 100,000 years had passed, and the first generation of the god race had already died out. Could it be that the god race powerhouses of that generation still had a chance of survival? Shio! Suddenly, a gaze shot out from the crack. The four primes sensed it at the same time and instinctively looked in the direction of that gaze. Within the curved, pitch-black crack, there was a world of its own. A dignified old man of the god race sat on a golden throne. He wore a crown on his head. There was an extremely ancient aura in that gaze. With just one look, one would believe that the old man on the throne was in existence on the level of a living fossil. Although the old man's aura was strong, the four primes could not feel any life force from him. It was like he was somewhere between life and death. Just as the four primes felt suspicious, they saw the old man on the throne wave the divine halberd in his hand. "Scatter!" The four primes sensed extreme danger at the same time. Their figures flashed, and they moved thousands of kilometers, rushing into the sky, wanting to fly into the starry heavens. Ever since they became supreme beings, the four of them had never felt such a dangerous feeling. It was inconceivable to the extreme. How did the primes move? Others could not even see their trajectories clearly. Just like that, these four primes ran into the sky. Pa! However, a huge, formless golden palm smashed down from the starry heavens. The four supreme beings each spat out a mouthful of blood as they were forcefully smacked down. Such a scene was very shocking, for primes were sent flying at the same time. No one could imagine such a scene. The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue ghost emperor were stunned. Primes were practically undefeatable in the Kunlun realm. However, today four primes were sent flying at the same time, severely injured. Was this the trump card of the deity race? This was simply too horrifying. Whoosh! Suddenly, bolts of black lightning appeared in all directions in the sky for 5,000 kilometers around, roaring ferociously as they charged at the deity race old man in the crack. Emperor Forsaken's expression changed slightly. He had expected this long ago, so he quickly stopped summoning. The crack quickly mended and mended. However, several bolts of black lightning still charged in before the crack mended. This was the divine punishment of the heavenly Tao. The Kunlun realm could not allow existences surpassing primes to exist. Pu Ci! Pu Ci! Several bloody holes appeared on Emperor Forsaken's body. Blood gushed out like fountains, and his complexion paled. Brother Xing Tian, hurry up. Ing Zongtian's group of four are already severely injured. Just one of you is enough to suppress them. Don't let them have any chance to counterattack. Emperor Forsaken said quickly and anxiously as he pressed on the acupoints of his body. Clearly, he paid a huge price this time. The heaven-punishing corpse god ignored the doubts in his heart. When he heard how anxious Emperor Forsaken was, he pushed off with his feet and chased after the four primes that were sent flying. Brother Qitian, make another move and directly break that Xiao Chen's Emperor's Road, the Dongyue ghost emperor suggested after seeing the strength of that deity race old man. Emperor Forsaken shook his head. That is the body of my deity race old ancestor. After receiving the energy of millions of believers, he barely managed to leave behind a strand of his soul to live until now. His strength already surpassed that of a prime long ago and is not compatible with the heavenly Tao. I cannot endure the lightning of the heavenly Tao's divine punishment a second time. Only now did the Dongyue ghost emperor notice Qi Qian's injuries. He asked, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. All members of the deity Dao Union heed my orders. Fight with all your might and kill Shao Chen on his emperor's road." With this command, the entire deity Dao Union's attack, which had stopped, ferociously charged over again, heading for Shao Chen's bloody emperor's road. Immediately, the sky became densely packed with figures. All the deity Dao Union cultivators, regardless of their cultivation, charged over. Block them. Although the 4 primes of the Haotian sect were not here, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, the Heavenly Province Academy, and the Holy Lord were. When they saw this scene, they immediately blocked the flood-like cultivators above the emperor's door. At this moment, Mo Chan, Yu Bingyun, and Juanqi Bai and the others soared into the air as well, joining the group, blocking the deity Dao Union. Under the 500,000 kilometers of bloody clouds, the largest chaotic battle since the fall of the Qing Emperor immediately unfolded. That was right. It was indeed a chaotic battle. Emperor Forsaken gave the order. All the cultivators of all sizes in the deity Dao Union participated in the battle. The Haotian sect's side was broken. Everyone fought. With so many people, the scene turned chaotic, completely uncontrollable. On the other hand, the 3 holy masters each guarded a side under the 9-colored clouds, preventing Di Wux's great tribulation of wind and fire from being interrupted at all. When Di Wux saw this scene, he felt even more confident on his emperor's road. His cultivation seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough. On the bloody emperor's road, Shao Qin was in a miserable state. Not only did he have to face the various wind tribulations on the bloody emperor's road, but he also had to dodge the attacks of some deity Dao Union cultivators. Every step he took was extremely difficult. Even so, he continued to advance step by step, not feeling dispirited at all. The long-awaited bloody rain fell again. However, this time it was a true bloody rain. Along with the bloody rain were countless corpses falling from the sky on both sides of the bloody emperor's road. There were corpses from the deity Dao Union's side and the Haotian sect side. This chaotic battle was extremely intense. On the other side, the heaven-punishing corpse god fought 1 against 4. Indeed, it was as Emperor Forsaken said. The heaven-punishing corpse god held a great advantage, fighting to his heart's content. He laughed maniacally without end, completely suppressing the 4 primes. Ying Zongtian and the other 3 felt extremely sullen in their hearts. However, that heavenly deity's hand had shattered their hearts of an emperor, severely injuring them. The battle under the blood clouds was intense. Although the Haotian sect had fewer people and no primes, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea and the many holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean barely maintained a balance. The battle under the blood clouds was intense. Although the Haotian sect had fewer people and no primes, the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea and the many holy lords of the heavenly starry ocean barely maintained a balance. This did not cause the defensive line to crumble, resulting in large-scale attacks landing on the bloody emperor's road. However, this balance would soon be broken. This was because the Dongyue ghost emperor, who was beside Emperor Forsaken, was about to make a move. When Emperor Forsaken saw the corpses continuously falling from the sky and the scattering emperor's essence after Emperor Wu died, Emperor Forsaken sighed. The heaven-abandoning deity, sovereign, sighed somewhat. He said softly, "Ghost monarch, make your move. It is time to end all this." Void, scarlet heaven sword, coiling monarch time's saber. Just at the most dangerous moment, a saber and a sword flew over from the distant sky. The saber and sword pierced through the sky. Everywhere they passed, they pierced through the corpses of countless deity Dao Union cultivators, heading for Emperor Forsaken. Saber sword, 2 sovereigns. The heaven-abandoning deity, sovereign's expression turned stern, startled by his current condition. Given his current situation, it was not good for him to face 2 transcendent divine weapons at the same time. The Dong Yue Ghost Emperor had to make a move to help. However, would the Ghost Emperor make a move? Even though they were on the same side, Emperor Forsaken did not feel confident. After all, this was a rare opportunity for him to fall.